All right, boys and girls, here we are, dude. Refresh. Come on. Let's get into it, dude. I saw that there was supposedly a review that was garbage, right? That supposedly is garbage, or a breakdown. Now, this comes from Peter Spitek. They couldn't make this game today. Now, what I hear is there's a lot of political connotations of modern day political BS or whatever. Now, I don't know. I've always made it clear that I like chaos. I like cringe content. I am not the biggest glazer of one side or the other, but I do think it's funny when you have cringe people on the right or cringe people on the left try to equate everything to American politics. It is annoying. It is stupid, and I am excited to see this breakdown. Now, you'll have to let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more chaos. And remember, we're going to get into it.
Away from their subject matter, which can make them feel great.
All right. Hey, welcome to the chat, everybody. And wait. I lost track of what I was doing. Welcome to the chat, guys. We are going to go over They Couldn't Make This Game Together by Peter Spitek. I love spitting on people's tech. And yeah, we're going to do this. You like what you're seeing? Let's go.
The Wolfenstein reboot is comprised of two profoundly unapologetic games. They do not do a single thing to look away from their subject matter, which can make them feel grim and dark and desperate.
Yeah, because the Nazis sucked, dude. The Nazis in World War II were the worst. They took all the guns from the citizens. They removed freedom of speech. They were awful. They sucked. And so putting them in this grim, dark world, I liked this idea. Now, I didn't like the second game that much. I thought the second game's writing was not very good. I think the second game has some things it does really well and a lot of things it does really bad. The problem with the second game is you have to buy into the fact that regular Americans, like your regular Joes, all are just cool with Nazism. Now, that shows a real lack of understanding of the time period of how the American sentiment against Nazism. There was a lot of people in the U.S. in particular at the time that hated Nazism just because of the socialism aspect, which is something that really isn't covered. I know they're going to get into this, but I didn't make a video on it just because I didn't want to talk about that. That's plain and simple why I have not made it, and I probably will never make one because I don't want to get into the nuances of the American over-infiltration, because instead of it just being like this grim, dark reality that the first game encapsulated so perfectly, it's got that bullshit millennial writing that doesn't actually make any sense, and everything feels forced and it doesn't work, and you have to make a lot of logical fallacy jumps to make everything in the second game work when there is cool shit in the second game. You just have to overlook the bullshit because it gets really annoying. Let's get into it.
The reboot tells the story of an alternate history, one where the Nazis won World War II, and shows just how bleak the world gets under the new regime. Wolfenstein takes a clear stance on the matter, a stance that I'd argue is meant to be entirely uncontroversial, but the central reason why I imagine we might not ever get another game in the series. Wolfenstein hates Nazis.
Yeah, we know that. Everyone hates Nazis. Like, I don't think this is why we're not getting the game today, because I think this is where I was recommended this because supposedly he's going to say that America supports Nazism, which is stupid, which is just already a bad thing. And I think that everybody wants a good Wolfenstein game. People were mad that Wolfenstein New Blood was so bad. There's a difference between not liking millennial style writing and hyper politicalization, where you can tell that everything's a slight at the political state in America, instead of just, it's like, these are your new idea of Nazis, so we're going to conflate modern politics into this game that's an alternate future. That's okay. You know what I mean? God, I fucking loved the first Wolfenstein game. It's so good, dude. It's so fucking good.
politics of the first game in the reboot duology, Wolfenstein: The New Order, are incredibly simple. The game makes it explicitly clear what we must do with Nazis, that there is no...
The second game was not, the political connotations in the second game were not incredibly simple, and by having this input right away, you are literally gaslighting your audience into believing that there was not any political connotations in the second game. Now, I went into the second game ignoring the political connotations, wanting to enjoy myself, and I did enjoy myself at the end of the day with Wolfenstein 2, but there are political connotations where they're taking ideas that are bad, like the KKK and stuff, and conflating them with the Nazi movement, and then them hybridizing, and that's why America just kind of laid down like wet dogs for the thing, instead of just being like, you could have just showed America as this dystopian place where the Nazis have taken power, instead of making it look like a 50s suburbia land, because that's what they did in Wolfenstein 2, and I think that ruined the grim dark of the first game, because you were conflating the 50s suburbia with Nazism as well. I mean, there's a lot of underlying statements made in Wolfenstein 2 that are subliminal writing tactics. Now, I think they could have worked if they didn't also make sure the characters were hitting you over the fucking head with it every 2 seconds, but there's still a lot of subliminal messaging in the second game that wasn't there in the first one.
Role fascism can play in our future other than to be stomped under our boots. It's a political perspective that seems largely uncontroversial at face value. Nazis have been seen as fair game to be demolished.
Wait, why did he do that? He didn't. Trump didn't actually do anything. This video supposedly ties Trump into why we can't have a new Wolfenstein game. That's what I heard about it.
Ridiculed and killed in media since the party took rise in the mid-20th century.
Put that phone down. Get me the radio tower. Put it down.
To show you just how normal and uncontroversial that stance is, here's a quick clip of Kermit the Frog killing a Nazi in 1990, something that no one batted an eyelash at.
I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in violence.
Yeah, dude.
While many have certainly dissected their politics,
Nazis suck, dude. Everyone agrees that Nazis suck. I don't know where we're getting this idea that Nazis don't suck. I don't know who the fuck is saying this. Well, what, you watch a Nick Fuentes stream and now, like, where are we going here?
Films like The Sound of Music and Indiana Jones aren't often discussed as having strong political dialogue despite taking firm anti-fascist, anti-Nazi stances. I think that's because those stances were largely uncontroversial when the films came out, so there's not much discussion that...
They're still not controversial to hate Nazis. I don't know anybody that doesn't hate Nazis.
Needs to happen for us to know that Indiana Jones isn't a bad guy for doing this. Wolfenstein: The New Order is of a similar ilk. It's deeply political, yes, because it centers itself around the hatred of a hyper-conservative political ideology.
Here's where the conflation happens. Here's where the conflation happens, right here. A hyper-conservative ideology. Now, this takes a lot of jumps to make this happen. This is where it takes a lot of jumps. Now, the reason Nazism rose to power in Germany was the economy was in a terrible situation, and socialism sounded like a really, really good idea. So a socialist party won the election and then took all power of the country. And they painted the people who they believed were the most capitalist in the society as villains, who were the Jewish people. And, like, that's dumb. Like, the idea that this came from conservatism and the whole thing was conservatism, like, I'm not saying that conservatives can't be bad and turn into fascism, right? I think anytime you give the government too much power, they turn into fascism. But this lack of understanding behind the Nazi movement and then conflating it to today politics, like all conservatives are Nazi, this is where the problem lays. Nobody likes the fucking Nazis, but there's an overall conflation of conservatives equal Nazi in modern media, which is where the problem lies. You can make a game about Nazis and them being bad and being hateful pieces of shit like they were, without conflating it to your fucking neighbor who's conservative that you just decided is a Nazi because he didn't vote the same way as you. And you already feel like this bread tuber piece of shit is going that direction. And that's the problem. This is why we have division, is because one side sees the other side as Nazis just because they disagree with them politically.
but when it came out, there wasn't much controversy surrounding its themes. There's not much of a stance anyone would argue with being made. While there are more explicitly political moments that unpack fascism, like this scene where Jay talks about his experience with segregation in the United States.
That's not the America I fought for.
Really? I was little, my mother wanted to take me to the picture show, but we had to go in through the fucking colored entrance. I wanted a hot dog and a lemonade, but the sign says we don't serve Negroes in this establishment. You're a patriot. Blue-eyed, jarhead, motherfucking Nazi-killing patriot that you are, you're still a fucking puppet to the man. You're exactly the kind of guy they ordered in come lynching time. You don't get it, do you? Before all
this is why I didn't like the second game, and this is why people had problems with the second game over the first game, is because the first game you're just killing Nazis are bad. The second game, it's like, let's conflate every single problem that America's had over its entire century into Nazism. When vehemently the U.S. fought against Nazism, it's conflating that all these problems, it's literally victim culture. It's just like, oh, I'm a victim, let's come on each other. Oh, victim. It's a circle jerk of just fucking victim complex bullshit that, yeah, the U.S. has done bad stuff. Nobody's denying that. But to sit here and conflate everything to Nazism and then make U.S. just this big Nazi state, instead of just having them take it over and making it a Nazi state, it's like, oh, well, you were already basically Nazis. When, no. What the fuck? See, this is, and then you get long lectures in Wolfenstein 2 to make you feel bad, to make you feel uncomfortable about the past of the United States constantly. The game's constantly harping on it. Not to mention, like, the weird shit about cutting his head off, and then he becomes a cyborg, and it's like, okay, I mean, at least they didn't cut his head off and then just replace him. That would have been annoying too, but just the idea that you have to belittle him because of what he is. Oh, you're the blue-eyed, wide-haired, or blonde-haired American. It's just so fucking edged writing, and you can't understand why people had a little bit of a adverse reaction to this. Now, not everybody did. There were some people played, like, a lot of people will wait to Wolfenstein 2, overlooked this, which I did, and I did still enjoy the game, but to pretend that it wasn't, that this wasn't political. See, this is where his videos we're 3 minutes in, and he's already had his own folly of, oh, well, it wasn't actually political because it supports my ideology. Oh, weird ass thing around his mouth. I can't remember. The Wolfenstein 2 is honestly a very forgettable game, and I honestly forgot this. I just remember getting lectured a lot in Wolfenstein 2. But I think it's to cover up his scars because he got burned by the Nazis or something, or by, like, the KKK or some shit. There's a lot of shit going on in Wolfenstein 2 when the first game was just kill Nazis.
Before the Germans, before the war. Back home, man, you were the Nazis.
Wolfenstein: The New Order's
dude. This is the problem, dude. It's like we're conflating Nazism with the civil rights movement, which honestly, like, yes, like, white people were bad to black people during the civil rights movement. Yeah, dude, they were. But there wasn't these large internment camps. There were bad groups. The KKK was definitely not cool. No, I don't think anybody fucking supports them. But this idea that we're just going to make long lectures and conflate everything, and then this guy's coming from the stance that it wasn't inherently political. Like, the second game was literally a piece to run fucking political agendas. The whole game was a political agenda game. Like, plain and simple. They wanted to tackle American problems because it was a hot topic to cover injustices and a lot of other things. And so they shoved it into Wolfenstein 2. Like, it was plain to see that that's what happened. Wolfenstein 1, kill Nazis, Nazis are bad. Wolfenstein 2, well, America's always been bad and America's always been Nazi. And that's why the Nazis took over. It wasn't that they nuked us or anything. Nah, America just realized they were Nazis from the beginning, and it's so fucking stupid.
Politics are relatively straightforward, quick, and potentially easy to miss. The game's sequel, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, received a much different reaction, however. The new Colossus was rejected by many fans of the first game for having too progressive of politics, despite sharing the exact same central political...
It didn't say... This is where he's coming off at the wrong fucking thing. This is where... Oh my god, this fucking cum falcon! I knew he was gonna do this. I knew he was... I can hold the baby. Are you sure? Yeah. Well, she can sit in the little thing with me. Okay. It's fine. Okay, my love. Anyways, this is where he's already having a fucking intellectual fallacy here. He started the video on the premise that the reason the Wolfenstein games weren't political, they weren't inherently political, other than the fact that they were killing Nazis. And then the second game, well, it's the same thing. No, it's not. You literally just showed a clip of how it's fucking not. You proved yourself wrong in fucking 3 minutes of the video, and now you're understanding that, like, this is why people were mad. There was so much political messaging in Wolfenstein 2.
Message. So... what changed? What if the Nazis won World War II is a common trope in revisionist historical fiction because it allows the story to have an enemy that's completely unsympathetic? To put it plainly, the Nazis were evil, and our heroes can kill as many of them as they want without having to grapple much with the morality of taking human lives. In fact, Wolfenstein addresses this topic in a scene set in a concentration camp where a prisoner asks you to kill a particularly brutal Nazi officer. She says,
"Not asking you to do anything, but the right thing."
When you return to her after killing him, she says,
"You did the right thing, didn't you? Sometimes it's hard to know what is right. But what you did was a good thing. This I know."
Wolfenstein puts it plainly. There is no morality to killing Nazis. It is the right thing to do. Violence against fascism is necessary and moral, because fascism is inherently violent and immoral. The unquestionable support for that sentiment, however, has started to waver in recent years. What if the Nazis won World War II, Wolfenstein asks. But are we sure they lost?
Here he goes, dude. Here he fucking goes, dude. Here he goes. This is where we conflated to modern day politics. Exactly why people didn't hate or hated fucking parts of Wolfenstein 2.
Nazism has seen an unprecedented public rise over the last 10 years.
Here's the thing. Just about. I hate all fucking Nazis. I hate them. If you were one of these people that are like, dude, I'm gonna fucking march for, I'm gonna march and be a Nazi, you're a bad person. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I think let's put our fucking dicks on the table right now. Nazism's bad. I don't like them. I don't like socialism. I don't like white supremacy. These are things that I vehemently stand against. But that's not. There was such a lumping of just anybody. Like, they just lumped in so much shit in Wolfenstein 2 with its bad writing that it made it feel like that all Americans that were living in suburbia were just like, well, we're Nazis now because everyone's racist. It came across as really fucking bad.
Or so, and all it takes is a single look at the current United States administration to see that Nazi policies are popular enough to make it into the White House.
These aren't Nazi policies. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, okay, you don't like getting rid of illegal immigrants. It's like flights to Guantanamo Bay. We're putting like my thing is, I really don't want it to be in Guantanamo Bay. Just like, if you're gonna deport people, send them back to the country they came from. Understandable. I don't like illegal immigration. I don't. I think there's a right way to come in and a wrong way to come in, and that's like cool. People say they don't like politics in their game unless it supports their opinion on both sides. Yeah, and I understand that. But here's the problem. When you go in and you say, like, you paint the whole game from one-sided perspective, and then the problem is there was so over the top fucking lecturing in the fucking I said blade to your dick. I would become I say blade to your dick. Would you become? No, dude. I wouldn't fucking become a Nazi, dude. I don't fucking like socialism. I don't like here's the thing that the Nazis did. The first, they took your guns, which I am vehemently against. I think everybody has the right to bear arms. Second, there was no freedom of speech. I am a vehemently supporter of freedom of speech. I would firmly stand against anything that would try to take those two things away. Now, so far, like, the only censorship I've seen has been left-wing censorship for the last at least 6 years. So, if we're talking about things, and the group that's trying to take away guns is left-wing, like, if we're doing this, like, if you want to conflate ideologies, Nazism started with socialism. And it's like...
And they're not secret fascists or anything like that.
Secret. Oh my god, dude. And then we got Elon Musk putting the wrong fucking emote in. Fucking Captain Autism over here does the wrong emote. And everyone's like, oh, dude, it's a signal call to all the Nazis. It's so fucking retarded. This is already retarded.
They're fully leaning into it with a sickening, despicable glee.
Despicable glee.
Nazi scum.
Wolfenstein hates Nazis. It hates them.
So this is where I'm mad. Why I'm mad about this. This is why this makes me angry. This is why I don't like people on the right who say that all left-wing people are communist. I think that is a bad take to have. I think that's a fucking horrible take to have, because it's like, dude, not everybody over there. Some people just like some social reform. Some people are over there because they are left-wing, because they don't like the war on drugs. They don't like this. So there's different reasons why somebody can be left-wing. There's different reasons why somebody can be right-wing. But taking an entire group and just spraying them down with fucking all your jizz and saying, you were never come on, you were a Nazi the whole time, you were a communist the whole time. This is what seeds division. And I hate that people pretend that it doesn't, but calling an entire group of like over about half of the population of an entire country Nazis because they believed in one candidate that you don't believe in, that is such a logical fallacy. Like, we're so fucking... Yeah, dude, he's a fucking cringe lord. Elon Musk has always been cringe. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? It's not a Nazi salute, bro. Oh, so you've never heard of Wolfenstein? Wolfenstein is a game that had the premise, what if the Nazis won World War II? And the reason they won World War II in the game is they had basically figured out, like, biohuman engineering, where they could turn humans into robots, and they fucking won. They fucking won, and now they're like, they have like giant robot dogs. The first game, if you want to, Wolfenstein: The New Order is a very, very, very good game. The first Wolfenstein game is really good. Do not play the second one. The Old Blood is pretty good. So Old Blood and then The New Order is really good. Honestly, Wolfenstein was, so if you know what Doom is, Doom was kind of a step up, and made by the same developer who made Wolfenstein, and Wolfenstein was kind of the first great FPS game in 3D. So, it's a very old series. It's been going on since the early 90s.
So much, and refuses to shy away from that fact by displaying who the Nazis were with unrelenting evidence of their cruelty and lack of humanity and lies. The propaganda letters you find scattered around the levels don't just tell us that the fascists are unquestionably good, but they also tell us that detractors are unquestionably bad, that they're rapists and murderers, not to be missed if they disappear.
And isn't that what you're doing, though? Isn't that what you're doing right now by calling by calling the conservative president of the United States a Nazi? You're literally, so if you disagree with me, you are vehemently bad. You are using propaganda, like messaging, to prove your point. You're literally doing what they're making fun of in this game. How are you so fucking dense that you don't see it?
Wolfenstein's alternate history, Germany dropped a nuclear bomb on New York City, ending World War II, but the propagandistic news articles tell us something interesting. The in-game report cites a fictional quote from the German leadership reading, "This final act of violence may have saved millions of lives that would have resulted from a land invasion of America." This very same explanation was used in real life by the American government to justify dropping nuclear weapons on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in 1945, killing more than 150,000.
By the way, this led to anime, so you're fucking welcome. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, dude. No, but seriously, the reason anime exists is after the bombs dropped in Japan, America kind of put Japan in a situation where it was like, you are under our wing now. We are going to make sure imperialism doesn't rise in your country again. And they basically went in and scrubbed all the propaganda type TV and cartoons and everything. And so the only media that Japan was getting for a very long while was shit like Popeye the Sailor Man, Betty Boop, Mickey Mouse and shit like that. So if you go to really early anime, you're going to see a lot of overlaps of art styles from early American cartoons. And it's all because of the hardcore American influence after the World War II.
Thousand defenseless civilians. After all, President Truman said of a Japanese ground invasion, "My object is to save as many American lives as possible, but I also have a human feeling for the women and children of Japan," only to later write in response to a clergyman begging him to not drop another bomb, "The only language they seem to understand is the one we have been using to bombard them. When you have to deal with a beast..."
Yeah, no, it was awful. I'm not saying, like, here's the thing, like, that with the Japanese culture at the time, which does suck, like, and this is, like, it ended the war. It is bad. They killed a ton of innocent civilians. They did fly over. There is pamphlets and stuff because they did air raids before, dropping letters saying to evacuate. At the time, like, Japan wasn't going to fucking give up. That was kind of the sentiment at the time. There was no giving up. And they said, fuck it. If you're not going to give up, we'll drop another bomb. And that's what fucking happened. Now, revision is a thing. I mean, I understand things like there's probably a sentiment from both sides that it's different. I think now we're looking at, because of the whole thing that happened, Japan has been one of America's biggest allies for a very, very long time. Does it suck that they dropped 2 nukes? Absolutely. Did it end the war? Absolutely. So you can look at it from both perspectives and say, yeah, they killed a lot of people. It was very, very bad, but it did end the war. And because of that, like, no more Americans died. Like, war is a fucking brutal thing. I don't like war. And in the modern times, anytime that I see that we should stay out of war, I am fucking fully for it, because shit like this is bound to happen. There's going to be civilians that die on both sides, and it's gonna be bad. I mean, that's what fucking happens, dude. You know what I mean? So just become overpowered to win a war. Yeah, like that's what they did. I mean, like, Japan literally had like kamikaze pilots, so they were not the type of people to fuck around with. They were fucking like badass military combatants. Like, they were like, either I die fighting and kill as many people as I can, or then that's it. Those are your fucking options. So this was an ultimate show of force, and it was like fuck around, find out type energy, and it was crazy. Probably a lot of civilians died. I'm not cool with that. That sucks. But at the same time, it did end the war, and yeah.
Have to treat him as a beast. This fictional newspaper clipping is a small detail in Wolfenstein that very clearly holds up a mirror to the United States' most violent and despicable action, and to the way that the government discusses the slaughter of innocent civilians as a necessary evil. Wolfenstein doesn't have to twist the facts or create.
And here's where people got annoyed with the game, though. This is why it went from being a game where you just kill Nazis that are taking over the world to let's shine a mirror back at America. Let's highlight all of the things that America did wrong, so that we can have this I feel bad about it being American sentiment in the game, which is fucking weird. It's like, oh, instead of killing Nazis, which was the point of the game, which was the point of the Wolfenstein series always, it's like, oh, let's hold a mirror up to American society, because we live in a bad society. America's always bad. It's always been bad, and you should feel bad about being American. It's like, dude, I play fucking, the reason I bought Wolfenstein back in the day was I remember picking it up, and I asked the GameStop dude, who was just kind of a LARPy looking motherfucker, looked like he probably never got any pussy, and I asked him, dude, I'm like, well, what is this game any good? Because I'd never heard of Wolfenstein, right? And he's like, oh, it's one of those America hoorah bullshit games. And I was like, fucking down, dude. I fucking love America, dude. I'm a fucking unapologetically patriotic as fuck, dude. I'm like, oh, so I just kill Nazis? That's the game, bro? Let's go. And I played the game because I wanted to fucking kill Nazis. Like, I wanted to play some hoorah, fucking unapologetic American badassery. And then when I got the sequel expecting more hoorah American badassery, it was like, no. This time the America is the bad guys. And it's like, yeah, but like, why can't I just go back to killing Nazis? Why can't things be fucking simple? Why does everything need to be a fucking, over the top, like, oh, look how, it's actually America. Fuck off, dude. Get your fucking cum falcons out of here.
Create an alternate history here to highlight the cruelty of indiscriminate violence. It just rearranges the names. Despite being about freeing the United States from Nazi rule, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus doesn't say very much of anything specific about the current era of US politics.
What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, it does. Half the game talks about the politics of the US in this game. Literally, you've shown examples of shit where it's like,
And stop the game's publisher, Bethesda Softworks, from leaning into the 2017 political climate as much as possible when marketing the game's release. Make America Nazi-free again, a tweet from the official Wolfenstein Twitter account reads, "Not my America."
but see, this is where people got annoyed with this type of shit. Right when the game's coming out, you're already calling half of Americans Nazis who believe in who are going to vote for or who voted for Donald Trump. Like, you think that's okay? You think that's gonna make people sympathetic and want to buy your game by calling them Nazis? No. Like, yeah, dude, I'm fucking, like, my point, when I remember seeing shit like this, I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to fucking kill the Nazis, because in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just gonna be the Nazis, we're gonna fucking take these Nazis out, it's gonna be an overwhelming rule, like, no, and it's not that. It is heavily politically messaged, and the idea that it's not, and it's cool because it's on your side, that's the problem with the game. You could make Wolfenstein again where Nazis take over and not have the whole game be about racism in America, and it would do fucking gangbusters.
Of course, this tweet
But I'm pretty sure concentration camps originated in Britain with a different name. I mean, we're complaining. I mean, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You'd have to, like, send an example. But I mean, like, see, we're doing conflationism right now, right? We're conflating all of the atrocities that countries have done into, oh, well, that's Nazism. No, the Nazis were Nazism. Like, why the fuck do we need to make all these comparisons to other cultures when I could just have a game about shooting Nazis in the face and hoorah America? That's what the first game was. Why the fuck is the second game not like that? Why is the third or the New Blood not like that? Like, this is the problem. This is the problem where your message is more important than just making a cool ass fucking video game. This is the problem with this fucking bullshit.
It is meant for viewers to make a connection between Donald Trump's
And it doesn't surprise me that Britain's always been doing fucked up shit. I think it's funny whenever people are like, oh, dude, America's done all this stuff, and then the British will, like, shit on America, and I'm like, motherfucker, you guys were the one that started all this shit. You guys started all this shit, and then you guys sit over here with your, Britain sits over there with their superiority, acting like they're better, and it's like, motherfucker, you guys did way worse and did all the time, and you guys pretend like you're perfect. Now, I love you, like, chomps, but that is, like, a fact, dude. Like, my whole life, I've just been like, why the fuck, like, every time I see, like, British people talk about, like, the issue of, like, slavery in America, I'm like, motherfucker, you guys were doing this for fucking ever. It was literally you guys doing the same shit over in the U.S. before it became the U.S. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Administration's policies and the overtly fascist regime in Wolfenstein 2.
But here's the thing, dude. When did Trump take away freedom of speech in his first administration during when Wolfenstein 2 came out? Didn't. When did Trump take away guns in his first administration? Didn't. When did he start concentration camps? Didn't. Like, what? Like, I don't remember Trump rounding up all the Jews. Unless I missed something. This is where this is why people got annoyed with Wolfenstein 2. Now, I can say that I had fun with the game and overlooked a lot of the shit and rolled my eyes at a couple parts. But to pretend that, oh, just because I believe Trump is a Nazi means that they couldn't remake the game. They can make the game again today. Absolutely. There's nothing stopping them. It's just their sales probably won't do good because people are sick of this shit. But there's nobody stopping them from making the game.
But in context of the game, there isn't much specifically aimed at Trump. That doesn't matter, however, because Trump has, time and time again, aligned himself with the villains in Wolfenstein.
Well, dude, this is bullshit right here. Fucking literally. Dude, so fucking dumb. This was literally like this is taken out of context. Oh god, dude. An election nears. Kelly warns Trump would rule like a dictator. This is just fucking bullshit. Hitler did good things. I mean, I don't even know that quote, but it's probably taken out of context. Like this one's like this quote right here, the both sides one is one of the most notorious bad faith taken out of context things ever. Like if you watch that speech, he says in that speech like 15 fucking times he disavows all the people that were the part of that white supremacist group there. But he was talking, he said, but in terms of the regular protesters that weren't a part of those people who marched in that were the white supremacists, there were both people on both sides of that protest. There were fine people on both sides. But he after talking like for 15 minutes and saying, because Trump repeats everything 47 times, and I'm not the biggest Trump guy, but this is just a bad fucking faith argument. And this is why people have problem with shit like this video right now and shit with the Wolfenstein 2, because of the fact that you're sitting here calling half of America Nazis. And sitting on your fucking virtuous high horse. So you're a piece of shit, dude.
Face value, hating Nazis has, up until recently, been seen as non-controversial, almost...
Everyone still hates Nazis. It is not controversial. Killing Nazis is fine. Anybody who says killing Nazis isn't fine is a fucking idiot. They're fucking retarded. They're sitting over here fucking self-jerking into their own mouths and probably sitting there with a fucking Nick Fuentes poster that they make out with every morning. Like, those people are fucking cringe. What you're talking about is you're conflating people being mad about the
apolitical,
about the overly overt messaging in Wolfenstein 2 compared like people weren't mad about there being Nazis. They weren't mad that they were making Nazis look like fucking Nazis. Nobody gave a shit about killing Nazis in the first game. But in the second game, when you're conflating and have a political propaganda bullshit in the second game, and not so overt messaging where you're just slamming me on the head with a fucking sledgehammer saying, "Oh, dude, yeah, America's Nazis. America's always been fascist from the beginning." And then you're the fucking leading up to the game marketing is just you fucking calling the right-wing movement at the time Nazism, where you call half of America Nazis. That's the problem. It's not the problem has never been killing fucking Nazis, because I'm not gonna lie, dude, I would ride a fucking period blood wave into a fucking helicopter full of Nazis and blow that motherfucker up and call that the greatest game of all time. But if while I'm riding that period wave, I'm getting lectured on how America's been fucking Nazis from the very beginning, I'm going to get annoyed. There's two very different things happening here, and you're just overlooking that fact because it aligns with you politically.
If such a thing can even exist. But now, a non-controversial statement about ridding the United States of Nazis becomes highly charged with political implication thanks to the actions of the president. And it's only got...
Wait... The messaging was very guided toward the American the American Republicans at the time. That's the problem. You take half of your buying base, call them fucking Nazis, just to win fucking brownie suck me off points on Twitter, and then wonder why people are mad? That's why people are fucking mad.
Gotten more and more pointed as his administration takes the reins once more. The politics of Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus are incredibly simple. The game makes it explicitly clear what we must do with Nazis, that there is no role fascism can play in our future other than to be stomped under our boots. The problem that the game begins to unpack, however, is that fascism isn't so easily dismantled. As we've seen in real life, it does not end with the death of a leader because the ideas are already alive. Fascism doesn't just poison full-blown Nazis. As we see, the ideology trickles down to weak-willed, insecure men. The new Colossus shines some light on
Look at that, dude. And that's the problem, bro. Like, this whole backstory with him and his fucking racist-ass dad was so fucking annoying. It's like, oh, I don't love my wife anymore because you're Jewish, and the Nazis showed me that the Jews were bad. Go fuck yourself, dude. This is so fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. This is a fucking this isn't a character with death. This is a fucking cartoonization of what people are. And that's the problem. There's no basis in reality for the logic in Wolfenstein 2. Nothing makes fucking sense. It's just fucking spraying AIDS from a helicopter on me. I'll do the AIDS machine gun again, just right onto my fucking face, dude. And it's saying you didn't get sprayed with AIDS. This was actually poetry. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure this was just fucking AIDS. Because now I look like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like the game was written fucking by third graders with a small understanding of character structure, and then people wonder why they wasn't loved like the first game.
Backstory of Wolfenstein's protagonist, BJ Blazkowicz, by showing bits and pieces of his childhood. The scenes are an effective way of showing the poison that is Nazism by telling us exactly what kind of man Blazkowicz's father was. He was a failed businessman who blamed anyone but himself for his failure. The Jewish population, the black population. This hatred didn't grow in the thick of Nazi Germany, instead was fostered in rural America. Nazis aren't made when a single leadership or administration takes office. It happens when the people accept their terms and agree. Rip Blazkowicz was a Nazi before the party even existed.
Monsters did this. Not monsters. Men.
Where Wolfenstein...
There we go, dude. This is why the fucking game's so annoying. It's just men are so bad. Like, it's just like men are bad. It was like, oh, everything in this fucking game was guided fucking political messaging. And we're pretending that doesn't exist? It's like, close your eyes and pretend it wasn't there and just eat up the fucking bullshit. Because you're a fucking fascist piece of shit if you don't. You're a racist if you don't. Like, no, dude, I played this game, and every time any of the fucking characters would open their mouth, I'd roll my fucking eyes because it was so over the top. The gameplay's fucking insanely fun, though. That's the problem with Wolfenstein 2, is the gameplay's insanely fun. There was some cool moments, but for the most part, the game itself was such a fucking, like, shit pile of garbage compared to the first game. First game, pretty simple. Nazis are bad. Here's the atrocities they caused. Now you're dealing with a Nazism in the modern age where they have better technology and shit. Cool. You could have done the same thing in America and showed the same fucking over-the-top gravitas of the brutality like the first game did, but instead, you're showing 50s bebop in America. Everybody seems to be fine because they all just accepted Nazism. It's fucking cringe. It's retarded. It's dumb.
The New Order presented fascism as a simpler evil and only lightly touched on its American roots. The new Colossus shines a spotlight on its complexities. Blazkowicz's father was not an isolated case. We discover that the American South has been handed to the Ku Klux Klan by the Nazis, and many of its citizens are perfectly happy there. Slavery is legal again and is discussed openly and casually. For many white Americans, fascism is a system that empowers them if they don't mind ignoring its blatant evils. When asked by PC Gamer about the development of the section where we see what daily life is like in the South now, Jens Mathies, the creative director at Machine Games, said, "There was always a segment of the population who were winners in an oppressive regime, and they were willing to look past what the ramifications were to the other parts of the population." This scene shines an uncomfortable light on much of the American public. Grace, a black revolutionary, explains to Blazkowicz that most white Americans don't want to be saved from Nazi rule because they...
Dude, I'm telling you right now that there were so many people that fucking hated socialism and communism in this time period that they would have fucking fought back. Of course, you'd have some cringe fucking racists that were like, yeah, this is cool because we can be racist all the time. But at the same time, like, taking away, like, there was no way that these motherfuckers were going to let you have their guns. There was no fucking way. There is so many fucking, like, logical fallacies you have to jump over to make this shit happen. It's just fucking, it comes from a fucking retarded perspective. And then it jumps into this new era where it's like, oh, well, yeah, we just made all those jumps for you because they love Nazism. And honestly, the Ku Klux Klan existed, so that's reason enough. And it's all fucking stupid. It's like, why couldn't you just have made a game where the Nazis took over America and I'm seeing the brutality of what's happening to the American general public? Instead of making it a fucking 20-hour lecture about racism in America. That was the problem. You decided to make your game this weird fucking political piece where the main resistance girl is a black revolutionary and it's all lectures about how America's always been fascist. Like, people don't want to hear that shit. People want to play their game where they get to bash Nazis in the fucking head and not feel uncomfortable the whole fucking time. That's what made the first game appealing. I'm playing as the fucking ultimate superhero, BJ Blazkowicz, fucking hoorah American my way through it. And I think that they took the idea that oh well, I don't want to be a pro America game anymore. I don't like that hoorah American stigma put on our game. So how can we fix that? Instead of just making a fucking game for the masses. You wanted to make your shit a political piece instead of just having fun with killing Nazis, and that ruins parts of the second game. Absolutely, unabashedly ruins it.
They benefit from the systems that it enforces.
We've been fighting every motherfucking day, Blazkowicz. White America, though? They done packed up and given in. See, I guess they don't have the fighting spirit no more. Nah, they just do whatever the fucking Fuhrer tells them to do.
That's baloney. They want to fight the Nazis just as much as we do. All they need is for someone to show them how.
You know who's running the South after the Nazis took over? The Ku Klux motherfucking Klan, am I right?
That's it.
So what you gonna do? You gonna go down there and hold hands with them and build bridges and persuade them to join our cause? Get your head out your ass, Blazkowicz.
This is an uncomfortable truth, and one that
It isn't an uncomfortable truth. Like, yes, there was bad. The Ku Klux Klan was bad. But here's the thing. You are taking an entire group of America saying the white people in America were all bad and all willing to just lay down their lives for the Nazi regime. There wasn't anybody that would fight against them. Oh, they happily handed over all their guns. They happily just were willing to live with what the overpowering fascist regime. They were just fucking fine with it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dog? Like, they could have just showed the Nazis being as horrible as they were over in Germany in the first game. In America, the game would have been awesome. But no, we have to have a fucking political fucking, we have to show you that white people are bad. And they've always been bad. And the Nazis took over and the white people don't want to fight because white people are inherently racist. You know that, right? And when you take a group of people and categorize them already as racist and then say you are racist and just deal with it. And Blazkowicz being like, that's not fucking right. And then they're like, oh, dude, just fuck you. And I'm going to lecture you for another 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, dude, I didn't fucking sign up for this game for a fucking lecture. This is why this game is fucking annoying.
America is facing now. Anecdotally, there are conversations I've had with white men, people who look like me, who are fine with Trump's administration because it makes their tax returns better. Fine with this because of this. Wolfenstein 2 makes it clear that this person is the same as this person, who is the same as this person. If you are not a part of the solution, you are part of the problem, the game says. To me, this statement is supplemental to the stance taken in Wolfenstein: The New Order, that fascism is a poison and anyone who helps enforce it is a fascist. So then why is the new Colossus controversial and seen as too woke when the New Order wasn't? There are two reasons for that, in my opinion. The first is that while fascism's public resurgence was certainly in motion when the New Order released in 2014, being a Nazi was still something to be done in private. It was disgraceful.
Oh, shut the fuck up, dude. You're such a fucking clown. You're such a fucking clown. God, you're such a douchebag. These fucking bread tubers, dog. Like, this is so fucking stupid. This is the most retarded thing I've ever seen. Jesus fucking Christ. No, you know why the first game was loved? because the first game you were just fucking killing Nazis, and that was the fun of it. You were just punching fucking and killing Nazis, and then all of a sudden the second game is a political beast.
People would lose everything in their lives if they were caught in photos with swastikas and other hate symbols.
Well, political pieces in any game are circle jerks. I have not seen any two political statements in a game unless one of them is seen as the devil incarnate. That's I can see where you're coming from here, but I would argue that Postal 2, when it came out, I think could be liked by both like at the time at both sides, because it makes fun of a lot of both sides. And actually the whole Postal series does a good job of making fun of both sides. It has shit like the part where you're fucking hurling immigrants over the border. You can see that as we're getting rid of immigrants or whatever. Or two, it can be a critical look on the problems with deportation. And the idea is it's so over the top satire that either way you look at it, you're gonna take something from the game, right? I mean, look at Postal Brain Damage. You got the Karens that you can take out, right? And then it's a commentary on the annoying fucking bullshit fucking COVID stuff. And then it's also kind of making fun of like the only people that try to kill you in the suburbs are the Trump supporters. I mean, it's hitting everything from both sides, and that's what makes South Park so always made South Park so appealing, is because the people who make South Park have always made it a point to have people from both sides sitting at the table so that they can make fun of people equally, so that it doesn't get overly one-sided to the point that they're just kind of fucking alienating an entire audience base. They want everybody to feel made fun of all the time. And the problem with shit like this is fucking directed at just directed at only one group. It's like, oh, you have to have the ideology that everybody who is white in America is racist for this game to make sense. And that's the problem with Wolfenstein 2, is you have to buy into the fact that everybody that is white is racist in America. When the first game, you just have to kill the Nazis because they won World War II. Portland police chief suspended Captain Mark Kruger for erecting a shrine to Rocky Boot to 5 Nazi-era soldiers. Like, yeah, dude, fuck it.
Well, that can still happen now.
Dude, fucking Postal's peak. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. You will never catch me not talking about Postal, because Postal is one of my favorite game series.
It's a much more complex issue because Nazi ideology is being seen as a legitimate political position.
Okay. Remember the Congress denied access to the Department of Education? I do know that they're one of the things that they're trying to like make the Department of Education smaller. That is something they're actively trying to do. The exact opposite of what the Nazis did when it was a full-on regime of like, we control everything. Like giving education back to the states and letting the states to decide what's going to be in their education base is the opposite of what the Nazis did. Like right now we're looking at him. Trump's already gone back on his promise to leave abortion to states. Our promise to leave abortion to states. I don't know about that. I honestly think that it should be up to the states on abortion. Like let them choose. I think abortion should I don't think they should ban abortion anywhere. I know that's gonna piss a lot of people off, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh well, abortion's bad or whatever, and I understand your sentiment, but I also don't like seeing freedom taken away from all right, catch you later, light chomps. I don't like the idea that it's like, I don't like seeing freedoms getting taken away from the people. And as bad as abortion is, and I understand that abortion is bad, like vehemently, you are removing a life. It's still like, if you're not fit to raise that life, and you don't see adoption as a viable option, you have those options. You have adoption or abortion, and that's fair, I guess. Like I don't have to deal with abortion in my life. It doesn't affect me either way, but that's my opinion on it, I guess.
Position in our current landscape. We're having debates about Nazi legislation on news stations. The New Order came out in the final years when hating Nazis was a widely uncontroversial stance. Wolfenstein.
We still fucking hate Nazis. Everybody still fucking hates Nazis, you fucking clown.
2, The New Colossus, came out in 2017.
Hatred on the streets of Charlottesville simmering for 24 hours.
Oh, dude, this is so fucking retarded, dude. This is so fucking retarded. This whole thing was fucking retarded.
It started with a planned Unite the Right rally where tempers flared. Today, images like this, a counter demonstrator face to face with white nationalists, an ignited spray can you can see right there in his hand.
10 o'clock Friday night, hundreds of white nationalists storming the University of Virginia, protesting plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The overnight violence spilling into this morning when marchgoers and counter-protesters clash again, hours before the Unite to Right march was even set to begin.
There were very, very violent scenes earlier when I was down at Lee Park. Pepper spray was being sprayed by both sides.
By the way, hate all these guys. I hate white nationalists, but this does not encompass the entire conservative movement, and also this not movement, but this doesn't encompass all conservatives, by the way. And when Trump talked about this, he vehemently disavowed all the right-wing extreme or the white supremacist people in this crowd. Like, in the same speech that people like to put in there's good people on both sides shit, he also talked about how he disavowed the white supremacists, and nobody talks about that. They just put the one portion of the speech. It is one of the most pulled out of context bullshits of all time, and it is so disingenuous.
And bottles and rocks thrown.
It wasn't until Trump took office in 2017 that we started seeing Nazism proudly on display in the streets of America, and when we did, Trump supported them.
But you also had people that were very fine.
Here we go. We're just doing this right now. We'll go here. We'll go Joe Rogan, right?
And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
Charlottesville lie. Very fine people on both sides. Except that isn't all he said. And they knew it then, and they know it now. Watch this.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than...
Boom. That's all you needed to see. That's all anybody needs to see to fucking prove this shit a lie.
Neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits, and with the helmets, and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Unfairly, sir, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No.
I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest, and very legally protest, because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this, there are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country.
Right there, dude. It's all you needed to see.
Moment. But there are two sides to the country. Does anybody have a final? Does anybody have, you have an infrastructure.
What makes you think? This might be today the first time the news networks played those full remarks in their context.
Yep. Dude, that's all you need to fucking see. He disavowed Nazism and white supremacism in that speech, and this guy's pretending it's not here, which is just intellectually dishonest. Now, you might not like Trump, you might hate the right wing or whatever. I'm not, like, I've always considered myself center right, like, because of my views on right now, like, the right's more anti-censorship. But that might change, and that position might go left wing. Well, whoever's the most anti-censorship, I'm gonna be on that side. But when it comes to guns, I'm always gonna be believing the Second Amendment. So I've always considered myself kind of center right, but mostly kind of centrist, right? More libertarian, believe in freedom of rights. But the fact that we're sitting here and we're being intellectually dishonest about this clip shows that this guy's fucking vehemently an idiot. The dude's sitting there collecting his cum in his closet so he can drink it later because he's so in love with himself because he made this video when he's an absolute idiot. This is fucking this is misinformation, bro. I see people like this guy constantly saying we need to combat misinformation when you're peddling misinformation on your video.
People on both sides.
Again, Nazis have existed in the United States since the 20th century, but the Nazis Trump praised weren't secret.
He didn't praise fucking Nazis, you fucking intellectual midget. You absolute fucking retard.
Subtle supremacists.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will...
These guys fucking suck. They do. But this isn't all fucking white people. That's intellectually dishonest.
The people at the Unite the Right rally and other such demonstrations proudly flew flags with swastikas and performed Nazi salutes. Everything about American neo-Nazis changed when the president started empowering Nazi beliefs through legislation and through verbal praise.
You know what was more dangerous about this whole thing? Is cutting the context to make it look like he's praising Nazis. That is more disingenuous, because that's what empowers people like this. Because they see somebody who condemns them, but they don't show him condemning them and just show him as a supporter of it. And that is going to rile people up who would have been quiet before. That is wrong. And it's because of this misinformation and disinformation campaigns that can cause shit like this. You don't see the part in the media's part and stuff like this. You don't see how dangerous that can be. This is where you're peddling this disinformation. This is fucking retarded. This is actually so bad.
Now, Make America Nazi Free Again is a controversial statement about real-world political leaders who have legitimate
And again, dude, peddling misinformation to sell your game while making, while alienating half of your audience by calling them Nazis when they disavow people like this. Like, when they can say people like that anybody who flies a Nazi flag is a fucking loser. How... Jesus, this is so fucking retarded. This is so fucking retarded.
So a game that centers itself around an ideology as simple as...
A lot of things you can do with a hatchet. And a Nazi.
Is going to ruffle feathers with the non-insignificant portion of gamers who are Nazis. On top of that, one of the most controversial aspects of the new Colossus politics is that the game is much more critical of whiteness than its predecessor. As we've covered, the game highlights the idea that Nazis didn't come into power through force, but by appealing to white people looking for someone.
And that's the problem with this fucking game, is you have to make a lot of fucking bad logical jumps, illogical jumps to make this game make sense. Because it wants to tell an agenda, and the only way that agenda works is if America's just a bunch of fucking racists and they just lay down for the fucking Nazis. Because that's the problem with this game. It's intellectually dishonest to the nth fucking degree. Instead of just showing the evil of Nazism taking over a country. And then showing that there were some people that joined. Not this fucking weird utopic bullshit that they did where it's like, oh, well, all the white people are happy now because they finally got rid of the people they don't like. It's so intellectually dishonest. This is fucking garbage.
blame. The new Colossus explores fascism's complexities by unpacking its relationship to whiteness, a conversation that many white people are still uninterested in having, especially when it's a black person talking. The new Colossus is
Oh my god, shut the fuck up with your white guilt bullshit, dude. Oh my god, because a person of color is talking, you don't want to fucking listen. Oh, shut up, dude. This is so bad.
Often described in forums and comment sections as being too preachy and heavy-handed with its message because it's stated concretely without any hand-holding. It's bold and completely unlike most other AAA.
It's not bold, it's fucking stupid and preachy. That's the problem. The writing isn't any fucking good. It's just it's constantly reminding you. Good writing doesn't need to remind you every 5 minutes of what its point is. It can have subtle things throughout the game. Like, look at RoboCop, for example. Yeah, there's some, like, over-the-top, like, capitalistic sentiments in RoboCop. Absolutely. But the game's not the movie's not stopping every fucking 2 seconds to give you a 20-minute lecture on why all white people are racist. And that's what the second game did. Like, and if you can't see that, you're just as dumb as the people who wrote this game. And you're just intellectually dishonest. You're a fucking intellectual midget, dude. Like, this is so bad.
Video games, since they tend to shy away from making political statements to capitalize on mass appeal. Former Bethesda Softworks PR and marketing VP Pete Hines said of Wolfenstein's politics in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, Wolfenstein has been a decidedly anti-Nazi series since the first release more than 20 years ago. We aren't going to shy away from what the game is about. We don't feel it's a reach for us to say that Nazis are bad and un-American, and we're not worried about being on the right side of history here.
I mean, obviously, this isn't about Nazism anymore, bro. This is about, like, this was a fucking trying to paint all white Americans as Nazis. That's what the game did. It's so this is bad.
In Wolfenstein's case, it's pure coincidence that Nazis are marching in the streets of America this year, and it's disturbing that the game can be considered a controversial political statement at all. Unfortunately, however, Wolfenstein's existence in the current era of American politics is a controversial statement. Its ideas are far too progressive.
It's not! The regular Wolfenstein games are not! They're not progressive, too progressive. It's the fact that Wolfenstein 2 took out it wanted you to sit you down, spit in your face, and call you a fucking racist the whole time. And it's like even the fucking marketing, dude. Even the fucking marketing was sitting here painting anybody who voted for Donald Trump as a fucking white supremacist neo-Nazi, when that isn't the case at all, dude. To take half of America's population and say they are Nazis because you disagree with them politically is fucking wrong. That is such a fucked up thing to do. What are we even talking about here, dude? Am I fucking losing my mind? What's going on? Now, I shit on the anti-woke YouTubers all the fucking time because I hate anybody who comes out here before a game's released and is calling it woke before it's even hit the fucking shelves when you have zero proof of it actually being woke. I hate that. I've always hated that, and I've always, I've stood on my channel many a times and said this is bullshit and called people out. But then I see shit that's like vehemently annoying. I've played the game. I've seen the politically edged writing. And you're telling me to not believe my lying eyes. Because it's just simple. It's simple. You're just killing Nazis, bro. No, if it was just killing Nazis, nobody would give a fuck. And everybody would love the game just like everyone loved the fucking first game. And everybody loves the entire series up until Wolfenstein 2 and Youngblood. There's a reason why those two games are controversial and the rest of the series is not. It's kind of funny how that works, isn't it? When you're not being lectured, nobody likes to be fucking lectured. So, like, you're fucking retarded.
For a deeply regressive era of American politics. There are scenes and moments in Wolfenstein that I find truly hard to stomach. Scenes that reflect the horrors of the Holocaust. Scenes that show where we, as the human race, have been. Scenes that show where all this leads. One of the most important scenes.
Yes, and that's why it worked. That's why it worked. It showed the horrors of what the Germans did. And then it just mishmashes a bunch of random shit together for the second game to try to do the same thing when it doesn't work at all. You don't see any horrors going on. You just see a bunch of lecturing. You just get lectured a fucking bunch in the second game. Instead of showing the horrors that was happening here, you could have had an unabashed fucking overpowering menace like they were in the first game. In the second game, just overly overrun America, where everything is just like food lines and horrific natures to everything, stuff like you saw in the first game. But that doesn't exist in the second game because we gotta tell a story about how America's always been fascist. Fuck off with that shit, dude.
And maybe all of video games takes place in a new era concentration camp in Wolfenstein: The New Order. In it, Jewish scientist Set Roth discusses his relationship with Judaism and doubt. He says,
"This woman, I know her well. Resilient, the will of iron, a family gone, all of them yet. Faith kept her going. I cannot believe it's that certainty. For me, in everything, there must be doubt. Otherwise, there's no room to question the plan. And, this place, this is the fruit of unquestioned, ferocious conviction. This is where absolute certainty leads."
This scene is a perfect explanation of what happens when we let Nazi ideology persist, when people aren't curious about whether or not their actions are right, what the absolute certainty of unquestioning nationalism costs. And frankly, it scares me. It's a scene that...
Notice how he has not talked about National Socialism. It's just nationalism. There's a huge proponent that is missed a lot of times. The reason that the Nazis gained all power is because they made the government bigger and put everybody on a social network. It was socialism is what rose to it. It was a socialistic government style, and it was national socialist. And a lot of people like to pretend that that socialist aspect was completely gone, when it was vehemently right there. How the fuck are we rewriting history to fit narratives now? This is so fucking retarded.
It's challenging for me to stomach as we watch absolute certainty play out day after day on the news. The central message of Wolfenstein is simple. Fascism is a cancer that must be eradicated. However, that statement is not uncontroversial. Not anymore. We have been tolerant of intolerance for too long, and now it twists and distorts what it means to have human decency and speak out against oppression and fascism.
Yeah, dude, it's really fascist that that America fucking voted in a dude. You democratically voted in a dude. Half of the country democratically voted in a fucking by a majority. Won the fucking population vote. Yeah, dude. That makes sense, dude. Yeah, he fascistly took over the country. That's just what. Let's just fucking peddle a bunch of misinformation to fit your narrative to make this make sense. When the game had failed because of this peddling of fucking misinformation. That's why it failed. You can make a game about killing Nazis in today's time. Really fucking simple. It's not a hard concept to grasp. People like killing Nazis. It's fun because they were bad. Nobody likes the Holocaust. Anybody who is out there who's an actual like Nazi, people like Nick Fuentes, are vehemently disavowed in the world. You're fighting fucking made up ghosts in your mind is what you're doing, while peddling fucking blatant lies. And this is the problem. This is the problem. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Video games cost millions and millions of dollars to make, and unfortunately, that fact often stands in the way of standing for...
They don't have to cost that much either. There's games that come out all the time that prove this fucking wrong. Kingdom Come Deliverance came out and kicked fucking ass. And anybody calling that game woke because there's like gay kissing and shit, you're fucking retarded, dude. You have to like go through in an RPG, you go through a bunch of hoops and jumps to do stuff that you want to do. oh no, you don't have, the game's not fucking forcing you to be gay, so shut the fuck up about it. That's all I'll say on the Kingdom Come shit. I don't really see a point in reacting to it. It's not, I never played the first Kingdom Come Deliverance, but you have, from what I read about the whole gay shit, is you have to, like, go through a bunch of fucking hoops and shit to make it happen. And you have to, like, actually want that shit. And if they're gay and you want to, like, have that romance and you want to go through those hoops, you should be able to. It's an RPG. It's freedom. Let people do what the fuck they want to do. Like, I hate those fucking, like, anti-woke people that are like, oh, it's woke now. And it's like, why? Because the game's letting you do what you want to do. When you complain about games forcing shit down your throat and the game's not forcing it down your throat, you're hunting it out to find something to complain about. That's what I hate. Well, that's the opposite of what Wolfenstein did. Wolfenstein 2 shoves the shit down your throat, just face fucks the shit out of you, makes sure your throat is bigger and easier for fucking food to slide down. And then Kingdom Come Deliverance is like, if you want to be gay, you can. If you don't have to. Who cares? It doesn't have any effect on whatever story you decide to go with. That's a problem, dude. And games don't, and that game was made for like 40 million, and it's already at 1 million sales. RoboCop Rogue City was made for a fair amount of budget, but not crazy, and it's the best-selling game that company has ever had. The problem is we have an over-inflation of these fucking AAA games where they have a bunch of bullshit that they're trying to shove in, and they're trying to make the game way too fucking graphically. They're like, look at the nut hairs on Spider-Man's dick, dude. Look how his nut hairs curl around his dick. You've never seen graphics like there. Yeah, dude, nobody gave a shit about his fucking nut hairs, dog. I just wanted a fun game, and you couldn't provide that with me.
Something, saying anything at all, even when it's unquestionably right. Now that Wolfenstein has inadvertently donned a current era political message and faced political backlash, I just don't think we're ever going to see another AAA game like it. Not for a...
You're fucking stupid, dude. They already made one where you're punching fucking Nazis. It was called Indiana Jones, and the people who called Indiana said Indiana Jones was going to be woke before it came out, and then it came out and it was fucking awesome. All those people were laughed at. Everyone laughed at the fucking people who made fun of Indiana Jones. It's like, yeah, dude, we get to punch Nazis and have fun, and the game's not bashing us over the head with political messaging every 2 seconds. Hooray, finally we can just go back to punching regular Nazis. Like, people fucking loved Indiana Jones. What the fuck are you talking about, you absolute fucking troglodyte clown?
Long time, at least. In fact, in 2019, Machine Games released a spin-off titled Wolfenstein Youngblood that follows BJ Blazkowicz's twin daughters as they fight their way through Nazi-controlled Paris. But the game completely drops any of its predecessors' nuanced political dialogue about fascism and
the first game was the second game wasn't nuanced either. There was no nuance. You don't understand the fucking meaning of nuance. They beat you over the head with it with a fucking giant dick. They have the fucking purple dildo from Saints Row 3 and they're just bashing the fuck out of you with it and like, do you get it? Do you fucking get it, you fucking racist retards? Like, and then the second game, it's just a bigger, angrier dildo. I mean, this game, the one with the 2 girls, it's just a bigger, angrier dildo. And the game failed because it was unappealing. The gameplay's not as fun. It's trying to force this multiplayer shit. There's a lot of reasons why this game failed other than its bullshit messaging. It just wasn't a good game.
Places it with nothing. The game still centers itself around killing Nazis, but there's absolutely no depth to them, no exploration of their ideology. The game could replace its Nazis with mindless robots or zombies, and the point would be the same. It's a look into what the series could be if it aimed to be as boring and toothless as possible. It's depressing to see the cast of the previous games reduced to enforcing the systems of oppression they fought tooth and nail to try and dismantle by becoming arms of the United States government.
You are the head of the FBI. Isn't there anything you can do?
Gone is the biting political commentary about fascism's place in America.
I never finished the second, or the fucking Youngbloods because honestly the game bored me the fuck. And the daughters are so insufferably annoying. They're always cracking jokes and none of them are funny. I think I got like 3 missions into Youngbloods and I can't fucking play that game. It's fucking insufferable. The game's so insufferable. It's just a bad fucking game. But it seems like they learned from their mistakes with both Wolfenstein 2 and Youngblood and went back to the basics of just fucking allowing you to have fun in a sandbox with Indiana Jones. And everybody fucking loves the game. Look at that. Look at that, universally loved. Wow, dude, is it that fucking hard to just imagine that people don't want fucking nonsense fucking political messaging shoved everywhere, that you have to make illogical jumps to make work? It's not hard to it's not hard to fathom, dude.
And I believe the reason for its absence is because things were getting a little too real. Machine Games said in 2018 that it was working on a third and final mainline game in the Wolfenstein reboot. However, the studio hasn't said anything about it since. In the meantime,
supposedly they're still working. Here's the thing: supposedly they're still working on it, but they also were working on the Indiana Jones game, and the Indiana Jones game came out. So what are they gonna do after the Indiana Jones game? Probably finish Wolfenstein 3. Hopefully, take it in a different direction than Wolfenstein 2. Maybe just reboot the series at this point, because the series is fucking washed. Like you expect everybody to go play fucking Youngblood now? Like, to lead up to... It's just... the series has become a fucking chaos mess of continuity that you would have to reset the series, or the third game would just have to be going back to basics and retcon a lot of shit. Or maybe not retcon the second game, but just take it in a vehemently different direction. I mean, the only good part of the second game is, like, when you, like, kill Hitler. And it was just sad. Like, Hitler was just sad and fucking old and, like, pathetic. It was just kind of... they did everything fucking wrong. Like, original Hitler in Wolfenstein was like a mech Hitler, and it was cool to kill because it was a mech Hitler, and you were like, oh, dude, so that's why Hitler still has power after all these years, is he fucking put his head in a machine, and we're killing Mecha Hitler. And then they just made Hitler, like, boring, and it wasn't, like, I would have rather had a boss fight in Wolfenstein 2, and where I gotta actually fucking kill Hitler in, like, a cool boss fight, but instead it was just fucking sad old Hitler that was, like, mumbling and shit, and he was basically like Joe Biden, like under pressure, and I'm like, dude, I'm not getting the cool fucking Mecha Hitler fight, which I was hoping for in the second game. Like, the end boss of Wolfenstein 1 wasn't the greatest end boss fight, but it was fun. The end boss fight of Wolfenstein 2 is fight a bunch of giant mechs that you've already fought previously again, and then the game's over. It was fucking lame. Everything about Wolfenstein 2 is bad compared to the first game. I was in love with the first game. I loved the first game. And the second game was such a disappointment for me. And it sucks because, like, I did enjoy the gunplay. I wanted it to be good so bad that I was willing to overlook a lot of the bullshit. But about halfway through the game, I was like, dude, I had to force myself to finish the game. It was just so heavy-handed with its messaging that at a certain point, even if you, I feel like even if because like I agree with some of the messaging, like the fact that, like, the Klan joining them, that makes sense to me. But, like, every white person just was, like, cool with it. Come on, dude. Come on. It's like you're so heavy-handed to the point that I have fucking... my suspension of disbelief is gone because it's illogical. And I didn't want to... But I finished the game to finish it, and it just sucked.
In time, it developed Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which, while still concretely anti-Nazi, drops nearly all of the nuanced conversations surrounding Nazis and fascism.
You're telling me that it didn't spend the whole game bashing me over my fucking head with how America's vehemently racist and all white people suck? Wow, dude. Wow. It's crazy. Crazy how that works.
Simply make them generic bad guys. The game isn't quite as toothless as Wolfenstein Youngblood, however, it's certainly a step back for Machine Games in terms of unpacking fascism in all its facets. With the news that The Great Circle sold well, paired with the fact that it expresses a much more risk-averse political commentary, I imagine that
so here's the thing that's funny. Here's the thing that's funny about this whole video. This whole video is a lie. The whole video is just completely wrong, because of the existence and how well that Indiana Jones did. That makes this entire video bullshit. Entire video is bullshit. Because of the fact that you could make Wolfenstein today, no problem, just with, like, you just want more political propaganda, like, anti the side you don't like sentiment in your game, which, surprise surprise, if a game came out and called all left-wing people that believed in any socialism or socialist policies, which some social policies are a good thing. I will say that, like, just like vehemently just giving up on all of the people who are struggling is kind of fucked up. I do think we need some sort of social net to help the country, right? And help people that are struggling. But if you said that anybody that agreed with anything like that was a Nazi, you would say that the game was fucked up and had bad political messaging. It's like, dude, you're just mad. There's a reason why people didn't like the game, and it's because they felt like the game was trying to lecture them and tell them that they were bad people, when they have nothing to do with, they don't agree with any of these bad people that you're talking about, but you're putting them in the same categories, dude. Nobody wants to be fucking in that category. People just want to fucking punch Nazis. They don't want a social commentary on why all white people are Nazis, dude. And you can have a game where you can punch Nazis, no problem, and it works because people don't like Nazism. And it's proved with the fact that Indiana Jones sells well. What a fucking concept, dude. Your whole video is wrong.
Machine Games is going to stick to that series as much as it can. It's just a shame. Playing through Wolfenstein: The New Order and The New Colossus in 2025 is a bleak reminder of how much has changed politically in America for the worse over the last 10 years or so. These games had something to say, something important to note about nationalism and the relationship whiteness has to fascism. They show how stupid Nazis are, believing that they can see inferior blood by simply looking at someone, not realizing they're talking to B.J. Blazkowicz, a Slavic Jew. They said something about how a person—
Yeah, dude, we were all rooting for him. Everyone roots for B.J. Blazkowicz. Everybody loves him. But you then turned it into all white people are racist. Go fuck yourself, dude. Like, if you can't see that, you're a fucking clown, dude. You're such a jizz falcon.
Culture and heritage is actually a place to draw strength from by putting Blazkowicz in an ancient suit of Jewish power armor, allowing him to walk after having his body broken. I don't believe that these messages were happy accidents or coincidences. Wolfenstein was about something. It wasn't meant to be a bold statement according to its dev team. They've stated time and time again how they thought—
Yeah, they're saying that now. They're saying that now because it had done so much damage and the game was vehemently disliked and did not do well. The second game fucking did terribly because they literally had a marketing where they were like already painting half of America as Nazis. You don't see how they would try to run that shit back. It's typical corporate BS, dude. You're sucking the corporate cock because it's siding with you politically. What a clown.
Hating Nazis was an uncontroversial take, but now, in 2025, the games are incredibly bold. I hope that one day their messaging
They're
will—
so bold, dude. They're so bold. No, they're written terribly and they're fucking lecture pieces. Just go watch a fucking TED Talk instead of playing Wolfenstein 2. How about that? Watch a TED Talk on why all of America's fucking Nazis, and you will get the exact same message from this, dude. This is stupid.
Slip back into being uncontroversial, but until then, I just don't think we'll ever see something like Wolfenstein again.
I mean, if we're talking about seeing something like Wolfenstein 2, I hope not. That game's fucking garbage, dude. This was a terrible video. Absolute garbage, dude. This was so bad, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like the idea of killing Nazis is fucking— that's not the problem, dude. This is such a circle jerk, dude. Like, this is such a fucking circle jerk. Oh my god, dude. This is like those people, like, mad at Doom Eternal for making that mortally challenged joke. Like, the video game demons are actually getting offended. Like, dude, this is... Oh my god, dude. Proves the point 100. You know that this entire comment section proves the point 100%. Like, why am I there's no way that I'm this crazy where I can see that Wolfenstein was fucking garbage. I don't, like, why, how, am I crazy, dude? Am I fucking crazy that this is bullshit? I don't know, dude. It just feels like there's not a lot of pushback here. Like, I don't know, dude. This video seems trash, dude. This video seems trash, and I feel like I don't know, dude. I don't know. This is some fucking like Soylent bullshit. I don't know. That's all I had for that, you guys. I don't know how else to go from there. That was brain rot. That was absolute brain rot and disingenuous, and everything about it was just fucked. I don't like painting any like. I don't like people that say that all leftists are communists, bro. I fucking hate that. But that video stood on the point that all conservatives are fucking Nazis, which is just vehemently wrong, while peddling misinformation. And I hate when people like talk about how much they want to be against misinformation while peddling misinformation. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, I know that I seem really angry or whatever about that, and I'm not really that mad because people have different opinions than me, whatever. I don't really care. And I'm just trying to have fun here. I like chaos, but that was just... I don't... Like, it's the type of person that would get mad at me for saying retarded and call it a slur. It's like, dude, grow the fuck up. Like, I don't get people like, I don't get people who just are like, oh, well, since it agrees with my opinion, I'm gonna be okay with it. Because, like, games like Bioshock vehemently dislikes anybody who has the libertarian perspective. And the idea that I can play that game, get something awesome out of it, and know that the game vehemently disagrees with me on a lot of beliefs, but like where they're coming from because there is nuance. The game doesn't sit there and force you to listen to people lecture you on why you're a piece of shit, which is exactly what Wolfenstein 2 does. But that's all I got for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching me rattle off on that. Leave a comment and subscribe, I guess. So what we got here is one of my favorite animators on YouTube. I love Flash Gitz. I think he's hilarious. I think he's awesome. I watched Space King and I've watched the anime ones so far. I saw this was recommended to me and I was like, dude, I gotta fucking watch this, dude. Mickey's Diversity Games. We're gonna get into this. This sounds fucking hilarious. I mean, the idea, it's just like, there's so many ways you can go with this. I mean, you look at the title, Mickey's Diversity Games by Flash Gitz. There's 100 different ways it can go here. Is it making fun of forced diversity? It could be. That's a funny perspective to have because there's a lot of it. It's annoying. We all get annoyed with it when we get sit here and get lectured about whatever. Or it could be in a totally different perspective where it's making fun of people who are annoyed with diversity, which anti-woke guys can be just as annoying as the people who are pushing forced diversity. There is a real talking point that could be happening on either side here, and I'm excited to find out what it is and what it's making fun of. Let's get into it, boys and girls.
Flash Kids. All right, gang. What's the most diverse, socially aware, and forward-thinking live-action remake we could be doing right now?
What about The Hunchback of Notre Dame? That's got a gypsy and a retard.
Well, it's got a gypsy and a retard. What the fuck? Put a chicken in and make it gay. Dude, same energy. That is so good. Why is Minnie Mouse just so fucking stacked, bro? Dude, her tits are massive. Why am I getting slightly aroused by Minnie Mouse? That is uncomfortable, bro. What are we at going here, Flash Gets? What's your agenda here, bro?
Pocahontas? That's about seeing past our differences.
Oh, yeah. Let's have the colonized Native American woman fall in love with that vanilla gorilla, John Smith. Good one, Goo.
Vanilla gorilla, bro. Yeah, dude, we can't have good white people, dude. We need to get rid of all the good white people. I'm thinking we round them up and put them in camps. We put them in camps. We call them re-education camps. And we give them gas showers. Just for only white people, though, because they suck.
Oof. Nope. Hunchback is smart. Everyone knows gingers are basically double white. So we could get a little 2-for-1 on diversity points by having Quasimodo played by Idris Elba.
Idris Elba is Quasimodo.
Yeah, dude, let's go, dude. Idris Elba as Quasimodo. Not gonna lie, dude. Here's the thing where I actually think is funny. Like, when they take and race swap gingers, I always think it's funny how anytime there's a ginger character, they're just like, well, we gotta make them black. Because gingers don't have a soul, so they're not gonna mind anyway, because they're soulless pieces of shit. So we just need to fucking swap them out. I get a little annoyed sometimes when it is like when people get mad that it's like, oh, this character's getting played by somebody who's black and they're like the best fucking actor possible, bro. It's like Denzel's playing him. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna fucking mind it. Denzel could play literally me in a movie, dude, and I don't even think he's sneeze Native American like I am. He's definitely not got as much white as I got in me. And he could play me, bro. I would be fully fine with Denzel playing me. Because Denzel can play fucking anything. There's a difference between finding the best person for the job and changing a character for political points. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. And I think it's a conversation that's not been had. Where they're like, oh, well, we're just going to blanket statement anytime there's a race swap, it's bad. And I go on the fact that it's like yes and no. Yes and no. Sometimes it's the best person for the job, like the Equalizer. Could you think of anybody who's better to play the Equalizer than Denzel Washington? No. Stop chewing on the cord. Stop it. Stop it. You are not a cat. You're not a cat. And then you look at like stuff where it's like a terrible actor or actress and they're just replacing somebody that's ginger and you're like, come on, dude. Or it's also different when it's the first iteration on screen too. I don't know. I think that there should be more nuance to the conversation and there's not.
Oh, sure makes a lot of sense, Mick. Well, people did get awful mad about us changing the Little Mermaid.
God, why are they so obsessed with race?
Because they're weird.
We're losing, damn it! While we struggle to diversify mermaids and retards, HBO's sinking triples and Netflix is dunking on world history. Even DC is creaming us in the rankings.
That's fucking garbage though. When they take a real person, they're like, well, yeah, they're black now. And it's like, I don't remember them being black. And they're like, well, you need to burn all your history books because they're black now, and we decided. Or, you thought they were a man? No. It was a woman the whole time, you fucking sexist bigot. You need to rein in your bigotry, son.
It's a game?
No, sorry, Michael. Forgot you were here. So, yeah, basically, 20 points for white to black, 40 if they're ginger, and minus 50 if you're forced to apologize and revert course,
Money sort of lost all meaning around $100 billion ago.
Which is why someone needs to give me some good draft picks for this season, or Jim from HBO is gonna lord it over me for a month.
What about Brave, Nick?
God, dude, fuck the money, bro. We are playing racial draft. Fucking racial draft picks for character swapping. This is amazing. What the fuck am I watching?
That's a whole clan of gingers you could wipe out.
True. And it would be good to show the rich diversity of 9th century medieval Scotland. but the points are weighted by how beloved the characters are. The Gingers in Brave are barely worth a Sicilian. Fuck.
We can't do Brave because nobody gives a fuck up enough about Brave. So if we swap them two black characters, nobody's gonna care enough. They're just Sicilians, and nobody cares about Sicilians, bro. The Sopranos hasn't been running on TV for way too long, and nobody fucking watched The Irishman.
It's Jim from HBO. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Guess who just got the rights to reboot Harry Potter?
No.
Oh yeah, buddy. How do you like Black Hermione?
No!
Just wait till you see what we're gonna do with the Weasleys.
The Weasleys are a family of gay Jamaicans. That's what they're gonna do. They're like, Hermione is going to be a Muslim woman because we need her. We need more Muslim representation. And the Weasleys, the parents are going to be gay Jamaicans, and the family is going to be Jamaicans. That's what we're doing now. That's the track we are running.
What if we just made new characters instead?
Who would that upset?
No one? I'm lost for words.
That's good, because you're being awful talkative for your first day on the executive team, Michael.
That wasn't good, Mick.
Wait, Michael. I'm sorry.
No! No! They reverse raced him! No!
Good luck suing us for discrimination now, asshole!
Asshole!
Oh, fucking gingers!
That was fucking peak, bro. That was so peak. The one black guy on the board gets turned into a ginger and they drop him into a hole like Dr. Evil. What an amazing skit, dude. I fucking love these guys. These guys are so hilarious. I love that there are still people willing to do the South Park energy. I mean, yeah, do you have any more to add? Yeah? Is that all your thoughts? You thought they did a good job? Yeah. Okay. So Savannah really liked your show. I think it is gonna rake in dividends for you guys. Me, the biggest YouTuber on the platform, and my daughter, who is the cutest daughter on the platform. You want me to talk about how big Minnie's boobs were? Oh, I'm sorry. Minnie had really nice boobs, guys. The nicest of boobs. They're the best boobs. And we're here to tell you that I think your channel is going to be a success, guys. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this yet. You probably had like 5 viewers before I showed up, let's be honest. And we used the cuteness of us as the Power Daddy-Daughter team to really push you into the stratosphere. And you guys are funny. Keep doing what you're doing. Savannah obviously loves what you're doing, so keep it up, guys.
Now that we've painted giant targets on our back, perhaps you would like to join us on our Patreon. Oh, shit, they found us!
Jesus!
We have stickers on our Patreon!
Aren't these wonderful? Don't you want these stickers? There's also other goodies, trinkets, and rewards. Don't let Tom's death be in vain.
Link in the description.
Dude, even their Patreon ads are fucking amazing and based and hilarious. These guys are perfect. These are the best animators on YouTube. I'm sorry, Meat Canyon. You can suck 87 dicks. You can just line them up and suck them down, bro. You're good at what you do, I have to say. Yeah, you're in the running, but you're more like... If I had to put a comparison out here, these guys are like South Park, right? And you're like Rick and Morty. They both can exist. They're both amazing. But, dude, I'm sorry. South Park does it a bit better, bro. South Park does it a bit better. That's all I got on that one. Dude, we're going to watch more of these guys on the channel. I love them. My daughter obviously loves them. Between trying to eat my headphone cords, she watched a little bit, which means that you got a W on your hands. This is one of the weirdest things to come up. I've been watching a lot of content about anime lately, right? I like anime. I've always, not always, in recent times I've been kind of into anime. I think it's entertaining. But this came across my timeline. And there is a degenerate side of anime that I don't think a lot of people talk about. I mean, Vosh is deep in that side. The super political streamer Vosh, who loves horse and child drawn sexual affairs, he is a big fan of it. I don't know much about this whole world of anime, but this is called Should You Fap to It. Now, I don't know what the direction this is going. I don't know if they were talking about regular anime or Gooner stuff, but I'm going to see how degenerate this is. We are rating this on a scale of 1 to we should check your hard drives. That's what we're going to rate this YouTube video on.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to come!
Unique problem. Hard drives need to be checked. Hard drives need to be checked. 100% all the hard drives need to be checked. Just
important, and especially hentai has to deal with, is the matter of how we actually get to the action. After all, you're tasked with taking something as sacred and intimate as intercourse, and within as little as 2 minutes, make a scenario plausible enough to where you can follow the logic of these characters getting it on for what is often the first time. And this is often also what leads to some of the more creative setups we see in smut. Stepsisters, succubi, mind control, rape. These are as prevalent.
I was gonna pause it to say, also, there is a side that people like Shadman live on, where it's people that aren't of age, where you shouldn't be watching it because they're like 12, supposedly in the drawings, and you're fucking jerking off to a drawn 12-year-old. But then he just drops that some of it it's forced. That's cool, I guess. You're just like looking up forced porn. That's wild, dude. We're just doing the whole rape fantasy thing in drawings. It's okay if it's drawn though, because it's not real, right, guys? His hard drive needs to be scrubbed. Or not scrubbed, he needs to have it checked by the FBI, bro. This is some gooner material right here. You're a twisted individual.
As they are, not necessarily because they're the best solution to this problem, but rather because they allow us to speedrun the introductory parts of a show and get to the naughty bits you're here for in the first place with as little exposition as possible. And watching this arms race to the 18+ bits unfold has always been one of my favorite things about the medium, as you end up with these often ridiculous setups that range from the epic and convoluted world building of Monster Girl Quest to being isekai'd with the power of cock.
Strongest holy chimpa.
As the shows have to juggle the introduction being believable, while paradoxically getting to the juicy bit so fast it makes a Lily Phillips fuck a fan competition look like a K-drama in comparison. However, of the random scenarios crafted for the sole purpose of expedited fornication, never have I seen a show juggle these two bars so far to the max simultaneously, finding some extremely strange yet somehow very logical steps to get to a sex scene, quite like today's.
Oh my god, dude, if I don't know much about this this whole world. To be honest, I don't know a ton about it. What I do know is if there is literally a mom with a baby child and they're like becoming parents, and that then leads to them having sex on screen naked, I think maybe you should question what you're watching, bro. Maybe you should have some, like, inclination that this is not really fucking based, dog. Maybe you shouldn't be watching them spread their super fucking seed across the aisles on top of each other when they were literally having breakfast with their child 2 seconds ago. Now, I might be fucking crazy. I might be a weirdo for thinking that that's weird. But who the fuck knows? I think that you're weird for jerking off to that. One, you shouldn't be jerking off. Like, who fucking jerks off to drawings? There is videos of real people having sex, and you could be watching those, but instead, you're like, have you seen this drawing of this 12-year-old with massive tits? Let me get off to that, bro.
Show. School days. I'm kidding. Just simmer down. Even I don't have that shit taste. Secret Mission follows secret agents Noma and Rico, two anti-drug police officers tasked with gathering intelligence on the local drug cartel by going undercover on a secret mission. The two then move in next door to a known drug den under the guise of two newlyweds, and shenanigans ensue. The really unique thing about this show, however, is just its unnatural proclivity to make it seem like the only reasonable way out of a situation is for these two to get it on. Like, they will craft and have some genuinely high-stake, life-threatening moments where the standout solution to it is just...
They're like, oh my god, have you seen this bomb? Do you know how to defuse a bomb? I don't know how to defuse a bomb. We need to defuse this bomb. Have you thought maybe we should fuck on top of the bomb? We should fuck on top of the bomb, and then it'll stop from exploding, because the explosions of our orgasm will be too hard.
Well, intercourse. Like in the first episode, where a visitor appears in the hideout next door to discuss the next sale in their operation. However, right as they're about to get to the details on where the sale is about to happen, the visiting man asks if anything new has happened in the area, to which the drug lord living there responds that a newlywed couple has just moved in next door, but it's rather strange. Normally, a freshly wed couple would be at it all the time, but he hasn't heard them have a round of sheet gymnastics even once. Could it be? Could they really just be fets pretending to be a married couple to gain insight into our operation? If that's the case, then we might have to dispose of them before anything gets leaked. Now, spying on them through the wall and hearing this, how can Noma and Rico get out of this situation without
They gotta mash some genitals. They gotta play some genital patty cake. They're like, patty cake, my penis is the right shape to go inside your slippy sloppy hole. Your slippy sloppy hole. Patty cake, time to fornicate.
exposing their true identity or getting themselves murdered? Is it A, loudly start fornicating next to the wall, letting the drug lords hear them to prove that you really are a newlywed couple? B, it's A. And that's just the first episode. Later on, they're straight up thrown in a jail cell where their captors are talking about human trafficking Rico and downright murdering Noma for the purpose of selling his organs. And with nothing on hand for themselves, they now have to lure the guard in to take his key unless they want to end up on an Epstein flight list written down as luggage. So their options are now either sell Rico as
the fact that he uses all of these like little small anime childs for the Epstein meme has me asking questions about this man. Bro, why the fuck are you using, like, little child drawings and then flashing a picture of Epstein on it while you're talking about other people have sex? You're a fucking weirdo, bro. That's a weird animation, dude. Like, I get it, you're making jokes, but, like, fucking wild, dog. Wild.
Enough of a nymphomaniac that the guard will open the door to have sex with her, or fucking die. And being able to incorporate sex scenes that not only fit the situation, but have narrative stakes so seamlessly into the plot is something that I really have to give kudos for. I always love seeing hentai tied in story to the actual smut itself, and when it's done this smoothly, I think it really serves to not only elevate the watching experience of the in-between moments, but also the sex scenes themselves. It's like the scene from Attack on Titan, where Levi's fighting the Beast Titan, surprising him with blow after blow before taking him out in a one-sided massacre. This scene
and in this scene, the guy's surprising her with blow after blow, and when I mean blow after blow, he's hitting her with different cum shots from different angles. He's like, I'm gonna blast you in the eye, I'm gonna blast you in the mouth. Have you ever had a nose job? Oh, are you the chick from When Harry Met Sally? Because I'm coming in your nose right now.
Itself is awesome, but when you add the context of his comrade's sacrifice and the showering of boulders that happened previously to strike fear into the heart of the scouts, it makes the scene so much better. And this is the same thing, only now, instead of taking on the impossible odds of going up against one of the 9 titans on your own, this guy has to fuck his coworker. As for the animation itself, it's not half bad. After all, the studio behind Secret Mission you might also recognize as the creator of a little certain someone called Overflow. So the actual quality of the animation from filler to smut was never going to be a question. At times, I'd even compare the visuals.
Look at this. This is so degenerate it made my baby cry. It's okay. I know there's weird people in the world. It's okay. They'll get their hard drives checked one day. Oh, don't cry. It's okay, sweetie. You're alright. I know you want the mommy. I saw her walk by. But you have daddy. I love you. Where's the kisses? Mwah. Kisses. Kisses, kisses, kisses.
Actually, a Coke.
You want a Coke? I would love to hand you a Coke, my beautiful wife. Enjoy.
of the show to that of a fully fledged TV anime, but then again, maybe I've just forgotten what a TV anime is supposed to look like. You watch as much hentai as I do, and that line can start to blur a bit, you know?
Bro, you got a problem, dog. You got a problem, dog. Maybe you should just go back. Like, here's the thing that I have a problem with, right? I will start watching something, be like mildly interested in the topic. There was an anime that I was trying to watch. I don't know. It started with an A, but basically it was like an isekai. The guy, but he had magic that went into a gun, and I'm like, dude, are we getting a fantasy show where the main character is fighting dumbasses with swords with a gun that actually would do a much better job than a sword? Yeah, dude, fucking sign me up. And then right away there's like a half naked child, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. Get me the fuck out of here. You've ruined it. You've cooked it. It's not interesting anymore. I'm sorry, dude. I'm fucking... Count me out, bro, because I'm not here for this gooner shit. I was interested in the gun versus sword dynamic, and you ruined it with gooner bait bullshit. And this guy's like, more gooner bait bullshit. I only watch porn, drawn porn. Weirdo, dude. Weirdo.
State certified gooner. The other day my grandmother shared a Facebook quiz titled Are You Cultured? And I was genuinely surprised when upon opening it was all questions about Greek philosophy, as opposed to which lolly has the biggest cock. Overall, I think Secret Mission is a really interesting show, and most of that is not because it's 8 episodes of great standalone smut scenes, but rather because it manages to create some unique situations and scenarios that really add to the overall feel of the show. It's by no means the best piece of media you'll ever consume. It's hentai, mind your expectations, but for what it is, I really do believe it's worth at the very least giving it a look. And it's also for that purpose that I've teamed up with WW and Coolmic for today's video, who are in fact also some of the creators behind Secret Mission. And if you'd like to watch it or other shows from the same studio like Harem Camp, Backwasher, Falling Girls, or even Overflow, we've set up a deal just in time for their Valentine's Day special to give you nice...
Yeah, dude, if you wanna just like pay for your porn, this guy's got it. This is just a porn advertisement on YouTube, dude. Like, that's cool, I guess. Sure. Like, I'm not gonna be the guy that says censorship is good, right? Because I hate censorship. It's just a little wild. We just got a giant porn advertisement at the end of this video. It's a little but it's drawn, dude, so it's okay. Like, maybe I'll start getting like some... I mean, he can get an advertisement from whoever I care. I'm just trying to make this funny. I want that to be clear before people get mad at me for giving him shit down in the comments or something. Which, give me shit in the comments. It boosts me in the algorithm. It's a little wild, though. This is a little past, like, Adam and Eve, bro. This isn't, like... dude, go fucking jerk off to some fucking anime porn real quick. Yeah, here's the link down below, dude. It's like, that would be like me ending this video with a Brazzers advertisement. Have you joined Brazzers? Do you like watching women masturbate by themselves? Do you like watching listening to the soft sounds of a woman slapping her own clit? Well, here's my code, King Jiffy Gooning Spree number 5. Like, dude, that would be like me putting an ad like that in. Dude just fucking freely has anime Brazzers as an ad at the end of this, bro.
It's easy and cheap access to their catalog. For more info, check out the link in the description. And so to answer the question, should you mix gasoline and motor oil with ammonia nitrate based fertilizer? That's the wrong video. Should you have to? Secret Mission? Yes.
Oh no, dude. How did this happen, bro? Jesus, this hit I couldn't believe the name of this when it hit my For You page, bro, just because I've been watching like anime breakdowns. And this is one of the problems with anime. It's like, yeah, and you can say that about any medium, right? You're like, oh, well, you're saying this about anime, and then you watch Game of Thrones, and your Game of Thrones basically is porn too, you know? It's like, oh yeah, I can understand the sentiment. But at the same time, bro, there's a wild YouTube concept. It's like, should you fap to should you fap, what's a, like, I don't know, OnlyFans girl number 7, Amaranth. Should you pay for Amaranth's OnlyFans? Is it worth it? Is Amaranth worth fapping to? It's a weird perspective to have for a video. I knew it was gonna be fun content because I like making cum and tit jokes, but wild, dude, wild. Check the hard drives. Am I right, guys? Maybe. Like, why? What a fucking wild video. Oh, yeah, dude. Federal certified gooner, yes. Oh my god, dude. These guys are all degenerates, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. What a wild fucking world to live in. Could you imagine just this being your life? You're like, I'm gonna watch hentai. I'm then gonna make a video about why you should jerk off to this hentai, and I'm gonna make money for it. This is the American dream, man, I guess, if that's what you're into, dude. What the fuck? At least they were working for a federal agency, so they're of age. Like, I can't, like, a lot of the problems with this shit is they're like, I'm 12 years old, and you're like, fucking shoot anybody that watches them. It is time. We should, shoot anybody that watches them in Minecraft on fucking Roblox. Dear God. Dear God, what do we have in the world today? So this came across my, my feed. It's by Shredded Nerd. Now, I haven't watched anything by this man before. This is called Millennial Reviewers. And I have an issue. I try to do with my reviews is try to bring back some of the more, like, crude humor and stuff that I used to watch with the Angry Video Game Nerd and stuff from that time period, while mixing in stuff that's more of flow, kind of like Civvy. I have a lot of inspiration that I pull when I make my videos. Now, I don't consider myself even close to as good as these people. I figure my videos are just kind of my unhinged rants that I have fun with. But I like to put in that humor that I don't see hit the mainstream like it used to. And I have a problem with a lot of these millennial style reviewers. Like, I have reacted in the past, like why Wolfenstein can't be made today, and it was just such a bad take. It was such a bad take where it's just over, like, one-sidedly political, and it's made to be, like, slow spoken and to pretend like it's everything wants to be highly intellectual instead of just having fun with stuff, and I don't like that. I just like having fun with stuff. So I don't know what perspective he's gonna go about with this, but I'm very interested to see millennial reviewers.
How cringe-lennials were living through one of the best eras in video games. Classic after classic was releasing every other week, and they were just like, meh. Blow's adventure for the NES was way better. This stuff is soulless garbage. This video is a little different. In the past, I looked at the millennial style. This one is about the generation of reviewers, the past generation who shaped the way games are now. But, Mr. Nerd, not all of these people are millennials. Yes, that's true. Not everyone I'm going to mention in this review technically belongs to the millennial generation. It's really just the easiest way to single out this time period, this past generation. And if you're a millennial, these things all apply to you. You look like this and you say and do all of these things. No exceptions.
Well, maybe I fucked up and I'm in this category. Maybe he's gonna make fun of people like me, I guess. Angry Joe always annoyed the fuck out of me, dude. But I did here's the thing too. When I watch people like Civvy, right? Civvy11, and I have a lot of respect for Civvy11. I think he's an incredible YouTuber. But I do hate that he lumps everything from, like, Halo through Call of Duty as being bad games. When they are fun games, they're just not old school style shooters. It's like, oh, the old games were really good and these are fucking garbage. And that's just such a bad perspective to have. Like, it's like you're just lumping them in because you don't like this generation. Because why? You're fucking angry that everything's not Doom.
So, millennial reviewers, do they affect video games? Well, yes. Of course, the main influence on gaming is revenue. That will always be the main motivation. It is the lifeblood that keeps the industry running. Just like how the food industry is driven by money, or the mining industry is motivated by money. But money is not the sole decision-making factor in the creation of games. And the deeper you go into the nitty-gritty of game design, you can see what developers say when making game design decisions. They look at what is popular, at commercial success. They look at what game testers say. They look at public opinion. And they look at critical opinion. Critical success is a factor in game design decisions.
Dude, this is so wild. Okay, we're gonna go frame back.
popular, at commercial success. They look at what game testers say, they look at public opinion, and they look at critical opinion.
Right here, dude. They are looking high comprehensive. It's comprehensive thinking. God damn it! It's like cinnamon right now. I can't fucking say the word. High comprehension of themes. A self-motivation to source more scenarios. One of the design choices why God of War Ragnarok was so fucking linear, to the point that everything feels like it's constantly nagging you and telling you what to do. And if you try to go off the beaten path in God of War Ragnarok and go looking for chests or whatever, you will have all the side characters constantly like, what is he doing? He likes to open boxes. Why is he doing this? Because he likes to open boxes. Shouldn't we get back to the process at hand? Yeah, we should, but he likes to open boxes. And you're like, shut the fuck up, dude. Just let me enjoy the game. It's all because DSP was bad at God of War 2018. That is Dark Side Phil right there. Captain, oh, is the camera still on? Dude, the reason all the characters nag at you is because Dark Side Phil is too retarded to get through a game.
Critical success is a factor in game design decisions. So, with that in mind, how have critical opinions affected the current generation of video games? Well, let's take a look. If you're a gamer, especially one from one of those expensive countries, you probably feel screwed over with the price of games being what they are. The price of anything online, really. But there is another way. That's why I'm sponsored by Surfshark.
Oh, what
it's a subscription.
What a fucking good ad. If you want his Surfshark thing, go down in his description or whatever.
So click on my affiliate link below. Visit surfshark.com/shreddednerd to get 4 extra months for free, and make sure you have the correct referral so that Diddy doesn't try to skim some money off the top. And download Surfshark today. It has a 30-day money-back guarantee.
That's a weird thing where so Diddy doesn't try to skim money off the top when you're getting a pushback from this. Like, you're getting a little money off the top. Not saying you're Diddy or anything, just a weird joke to put in there when your affiliate link is what's paying you.
And subscribe, it glows. Does the like button also glow? So, to the examples. Remember how
by the way, he said subscribe to my channel, guys. Let's get me fucking stonking up to a billion gajillion subscribers. I want to be making dividends. I want to get one of those supreme dollar bill shooting guns. I want to be laughing at you because I'll be like, I'm the ultimate capitalist gamer. You guys are all silly and poor. Let's get me to that level. Or dislike the video. That would be cool. Yeah, dislike it for me being a capitalist gooner or whatever, and hate comment. It'll push me in the algorithm.
Often reviews would include some criticism along the lines of, this game was only 6 hours, it was only 8 hours.
The single player campaign is criminally short, maybe 8 to 10 hours depending on difficulty setting and individual ham-handedness.
The criticism was essentially that the game wasn't long enough. It didn't take enough of your time. Now, it's not like there's no value to this critique. Games do make a value proposition. Considering the amount of hours of enjoyment you get for your $60 purchase isn't...
And this is the problem. He's going to go into the value proposition because games are expensive. Inflation's gone up. Everything's expensive. So when you're looking at getting an entertainment product such as this, you're going to make harder choices like, do I buy the 4-hour campaign that looks pretty fun, or do I buy the 40-hour campaign where I'm going to be in the game a much longer time and pay the same amount of money? I totally understand this proposition, but also you can also take the other perspective and say, wow, dude, look at Turbo Overkill, which I think Turbo Overkill at full price is like $40. Turbo Overkill. How much is it on Steam? We'll go Steam because I think it's similar on console. What? Let's go here. We're gonna go Turbo Overkill. $20. Turbo Overkill is $20 and the game's fucking peak. There's a lot of indie games that are fighting for your money at a much more reasonable cost. all the time, and it's funny that the AAA industry just keeps hiking up the money and giving you bloated Ubisoft bullshit when there are indie games constantly fighting for your money. Like, take for example DOSman Games. DOSman Games make 1 to like 3 hour games, right? And they publish, usually their games are released at around $3, I think, maybe sometimes $4, but usually like $3. Yeah, they're not very long, but they're incredibly fun. But there's a better value proposition. I think that that's the better way to do it. Instead of making every game an over bloated, annoyingly long experience, you could then you could have games that are shorter but have a better value proposition. And I don't think the AAA industry understands that yet. I think that they need to figure it out. I would like to see them, like studios that are big and have massive amounts of money, maybe do a bunch of AA style games and hit them at the $40 mark. And then I'd be more willing to be like, oh, it's like a 10-hour game, but it's only $40. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be pulling that trigger.
Without merit, or more like $70 nowadays, probably $100 in the future. If you pay full price for a 3-hour game with no replayability, you might feel ripped off. But quality and quantity are obviously not identical. In the time since such criticism was widespread, what has happened? Well, Assassin's Creed happened, World of Warcraft happened, or continued to happen, Gacha happened, and we realize you can dominate all of your players' time with mindless, repetitive busywork. Collect 1,000 feathers, collect 200 Funko Pops, and games would often pad out their runtime with boring filler missions that break the pacing. One of the most egregious examples, and one of my favorites, was there's these 2 missions right near the end of Borderlands 2 that you basically forget and basically just exist to pad out the runtime for the game right near the end. And they just break the pacing entirely. We had a massive wave of generic open world games that always slow you down with the most mind-numbing activities. Some games have even come to consist largely of...
And I think when these games first came out, like Borderlands 2, and the early Assassin's Creed games, there was a lot of repetitive stuff, but the idea that was great about them, and even like Grand Theft Auto sits in this, is the idea that you had this open world to do, like, you had all this fun that could be had. There was no more limitations of you just running down the hallway killing stuff. You finally had a world to mess with. It was kind of taking the ideas that RPGs have been running with for a very, very long time, where you're like, you're telling me I can go on the trees, you're telling me I can jerk off on this guy, I can shoot this guy in the head, I have all this freedom, and I can spend like hours and hours and hours just exploring this world, and there's nothing telling me I need to get to the next quest marker. And it was just wonderful. It was something that nobody had seen before. Well, more games started doing that more and more, and they felt like gamers wanted to get more value for their bucks, so they started making everything open world, and everything was it was just like it was oversaturation is what happened. But I don't think we should take away from the early games like Borderlands and stuff, because when they came out, they were fucking awesome. Everybody liked them because of the fact that it was like, look how much freedom I get in this. Look how cool this is. And that sheen of it being open world is gone. It's left because we've done it a million fucking times. Ubisoft drops a fucking Far Cry game and an Assassin's Creed game like every year to every other year. Borderlands has oversaturated the market. I mean, I actually think the best Borderlands game that I played in a while was Tiny Tina's, and it had more of a linear style to it. And I know a lot of people hate Tiny Tina's Wonderland, but I really enjoyed what it gave me. It was like, go to hub, kill things, go to next hub. And I like the idea. I still think they bloated the whole concept of Tiny Tina's. I think it should have been streamlined, but the core idea there I thought would have been a cool idea.
The busy work, with very little actual substantial gameplay in between, like Destiny. In retrospect, those games that were basically 8 hours of all killer, no filler were a miracle. There are some shorter indie games out there that show us that games don't have to be so long. They just have to be good, be compelling. While it isn't just critics that cause this phenomenon, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this constant complaining about it contributed to developers trying to pad out their games. Another obvious one, to me, when talking of the snark-lennial generation, is the Disney adults of gaming, and that is the Nintendo adults. There was an entire Nintendo and
Oh, dude, we got a Harmon Smith reference. That dude sucks. What a fucking cringe lord. Nintendo adults are annoying as fuck, bro. The Nintendo gooners. I like my Nintendo Switch. I do. I like the idea that I can play my games in handheld form. I actually have Turbo Overkill for the Switch, so I can play it on my PC, much better on my PC. Or I can go play a worse version of it on my Switch, but I still get to play it at my leisure. I like that. It's the same reason why I have a Backbone controller to play Game Pass on my phone. I like having that freedom. I can watch some fucking TV and enjoy my free time and play a game at the same time. I'm terrible at multitasking, but I give it my darndest, bro. I give it my darndest. But if I try to add in a jerk-off session while at the same time, can't do it. Can't do it. I can't focus hard enough.
Industrial complex on YouTube back in the day, hyping up Nintendo products endlessly. Imagine this, a guy who just makes top 10 videos all day, all night, where there's a massive intro between every entry on the list, where he edits in a couple game cutscenes or whatever. In the early days of gaming YouTube, these people were the dominant voices, and they were the voices for all of gaming. They really started review culture on YouTube. They made an art form out of it, and frankly, some of them were quite good at it. It was downstream from the previous Nintendo review culture. That is, a lot of game journalists and people who write about games were huge Nintendo evangelists, like the Mormons of gaming. One example is Banjo-Kazooie. Now, it's a fun game. It's a good game, but if you listen to YouTube reviewers for long enough, you would think it was the second 3D platform.
On top of this, dude, you want to see something egregious where people will take and they will complain about Conquer Reloaded all the time. They talk about how Conquer Reloaded is the worst version of Conquer. And it's like, dude, Conquer Reloaded plays so much better than the original Conquer. Like, the original Conquer has the problems where everything's inverted. It's hard to control. It's kind of annoying. I understand that it's still a good game, but I can play the better, like, cleaner version. And yeah, some of the jokes are when they say the word, they'll censor it in the little, like, running subtitles. But they'll still say the cuss words. It's like the weird censorship they talk about in Conquer Reloaded. It's just such a weird dynamic. They're like, oh, well, once Xbox got Rare, they were downhill. And, like, some of that is true, kind of. I mean, Sea of Thieves definitely has been an incredibly successful game, so I don't know if that's 100% true. I would like to see Conquer come back because that game's fucking amazing. I have a video of it on my channel. I love Conquer Reloaded. It is one of my favorite games I've ever played. It's just like, dude, and the Nintendo guys too, I like that they'll make excuses why Nintendo is okay to sell their games for $70, when on the other end, if PlayStation or Xbox does it right, they have to have the best graphics. It has to run at 60 frames. It has to hit all these marks, and Nintendo will just hit you with slop, and they'll say, yeah, it runs at 30 frames sometimes, and yeah, dude, the graphics kind of suck. It's the fidelity's not great, but you are a Nintendo fucking cum guzzler, and you better suck it up, because we're going to charge you more money now. And it's also annoying how Nintendo, their games hold value more than other games, and it's like, dude, fucking why? Why? It's because of this false inflation of people just holding on to shit.
A game ever made, after Super Mario 64, of course. Banjo was well made, but it was also doing things other games are doing or had done. Nintendo is kind of like a bubble, a closed ecosystem, an echo chamber. When you're within it, you have a skewed vision of the gaming landscape, and tend to view Nintendo products as bigger cultural phenomenons than they really were. There is an infamous exceit. Nintendo YouTubers would make you think that Banjo-Kazooie was a massive phenomenon, but in reality it sold about as much as Croc. It is said that the Banjo cuck kneels before the Croc Chad. GoldenEye 64...
It's so crazy because of the idea that I've never heard of Croc, but I hear people insufferably talk about Banjo-Kazooie all of the time, and it's like, yeah, Banjo-Kazooie is a fun game, but like, you play any 3D platformer in and around that time, and it's very similar to those. I can go and play Crash Bandicoot, or I can jump back and play what's that, Sly Cooper, dude. Sly Cooper's one of the best to ever do it. Psychonauts, and I know those are a later generation, but come on, dude, those games are fucking peak, dog. And you think that I'm not, like, just because they didn't release on Nintendo, you're going to tell me Psychonauts is not fucking peak? I mean, I don't know if Psychonauts released on Nintendo or whatever, but I do know that it's fucking peak. Everyone should play Psychonauts. Also, GoldenEye is kind of mid.
Or is a similar case. it didn't really achieve things that other games of the time didn't have. Non-linear objective systems? Other games did that too. Quake 2 came out around the same time. In fact, other first-person games had much deeper systems well before it came out. Not to mention that it doesn't hold up as much as other shooters from the time, mostly due to
I have said this so many times about GoldenEye 007. Even games that came out like Turok do the gameplay loop way better than GoldenEye. GoldenEye was so popular, one, because it was on a console and people were playing with their friends, and that's what they remember as in their childhood. There's a lot of nostalgia around it. Other reason is it had an IP like James Bond behind it. But you look at the games coming out on PC, they were leagues and miles ahead of this game in terms of being revolutionary. Like, I can sit here and understand the argument why people will say that Halo was revolutionary, right? And I can look and say, yeah, there was other stuff in the market that were doing, like, had faster paced combat, had a little better, some better systems than Halo. But I thought that Halo did something by combining two of the FPS genres that were getting big. The kind of more slow-paced war games like Medal of Honor, and it took the arena games like Quake and kind of combined them into its weird slower flow to make it really popular on console. And I think it was honestly really revolutionary in that idea to get the casual gamer to love FPS multiplayer games, which then led to Call of Duty. That's why it was such an impact. But when I look at GoldenEye, I just see it as there was other shit going on at the same time that was doing the same thing, and you go back and try to play this game, it plays so fucking bad.
The control scheme, which was one of the obvious downsides of the system. The fucked up controller that they forced developers and gamers to deal with. It sucks. There's no "it had soul." No, it was just nonsensical and shit. You can meme it all you want, but there will never be some ironic reassessment of this. It was silly. And it was a silly restriction that every developer who worked on the system had to work around. These man-children would also make a bold claim often. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the best game of all time. And it's still upheld at this level by a lot of critics. Now, of course, any product that's held to this level before you go into it as a consumer is probably not going to live up to that title. It probably won't meet that expectation. And I went into Zelda aware of the cultural influence it held. All these Nintendo YouTubers held it up as the holy grail. And yeah, it's definitely not the greatest game of all time. Also, that is just my opinion. But like all the others, it is still very good. It's still very well made, and this game was certainly influential on adventure games. The lock-on, the auto-jump, the simple intuitive puzzle designs, all the dungeons are so varied. You fight all these creatures that look like they crawled out of Asmongold's room. But as for it being like the greatest ever, I actually just don't get it. Maybe you had to be there. You had to be a child growing up with this. But it still doesn't make sense to me. Maybe because it's so simple and intuitive, so polished for the time. Similar appeal to, say, Portal. It's kind of why Paradox...
I do think that he's kind of underselling Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time a little bit. I mean, anything else didn't give you this freedom. It was just... I mean, there was probably something on PC you could draw a comparison to, like what the Elder Scrolls series is doing or something like Daggerfall or whatever. But I do think that there was something magical about this game. Now, I played it on the GameCube and I didn't get that far into it. I actually was more of a Wind Waker guy. But I could understand the appeal, and I remember just loving the world, and it's just a really well-made game, and it's a good adventure game. And I don't think I think in where we are now is where we've lost the brilliance of adventure games and gone toward almost like open world RPGs. And I like the way that this almost felt open world but wasn't. It was that hub of design that I think was really cool of games like Outer Worlds did this, and I really liked the more hub design of it. And I think going back to something like that and bringing out more adventure games like this would be a benefit.
Games or Factorio could never be hailed as the greatest games of all time, even though they are the greatest for some people. Having too much complexity automatically filters out enough of the audience. Action RPGs and adventure games were able to effectively hint at some of the depth that exists in RPGs without overloading the normie brain with too much information. Perhaps that's why Skyrim is also so popular. So I would say the Nintendo bonus when it comes to reviews is absolutely real. And converse to the Nintendo 64 praise was the GameCube hate. Both the GameCube and the Nintendo...
The GameCube was fucking fire, dude. The GameCube was fire. I don't care what anybody says.
64 undersold. The GameCube had obviously a much better controller, which to be fair isn't hard. It also had a good library of exclusives. Maybe it was a bit disappointing as a follow-up, maybe it wasn't as good as its competition, but it will forever be known as the Nintendo Shitcube. Well, at least every GameCube that got sold actually got played. Every single family on planet Earth bought a Wii, and that Wii is now left to collect dust on the drawer.
Bro, exactly, dude. I have a Wii and it's never been plugged into my TV. We bought it at a Goodwill for like $10. It works. I don't think I've bought a single game for it. We got it as like a novelty because I had one as a kid. My wife had one as a kid. She wanted one. I bought it and we've never plugged it in. We have a Switch. Why the fuck would we turn that Wii on? And I also hate that Nintendo refuses to port their old games. It's a problem I would constantly harp on for PlayStation 2. I think the only one in the console market who does successfully port their old games is Xbox, which should be an insult to the other two.
Was under the TV. And it's interesting how the GameCube was singled out as the console for kids, as if the Nintendo 64 and the Wii weren't for little children. Like, just look at this thing. This is the most a game console has ever looked like a toy. Jak 2 is an interesting touchstone for critics. The previous game was a solid platformer, with a very child-friendly atmosphere, like Diddy's Mansion. The sequel was a complete tonal departure.
Dude, Jak 2 is so much better than Jak and Daxter. I didn't like Jak and Daxter that much, but I played through most of Jak 2, and I fucking love Jak 2. I've never played Jak 3, though.
Dark, edgy sci-fi. They made the formerly silent protagonist vocal, and they gave him the vocals of a Linkin Park album, and many critics panned it. A few praised it, some were indifferent. It was a strange choice indeed, but to be honest, it wasn't that crazy. It honestly worked. It was inspired by other games of the time, the Volga Wave and Limp Bizkit. Other games like Need for Speed did a similar thing.
Dude, Need for Speed Most Wanted. This game was... I had this on the GameCube. I fucking had this on the GameCube, and I love this game so much, dude. I played the shit out of Need for Speed Most Wanted. This is one of the reasons why I don't play racing games anymore. One, I like the more arcadey style of racing games. Two, there's just no series that do this anymore. Everything's overblown and washed out, but there was just something special about Need for Speed Most Wanted when it came out. This was such a special game to me, dude. There was nothing more exciting than getting to the end of the mission and picking you had 3 cards to pick, and one of them had that pink slip where you could get their card, and there was just something because you had to pick 2, and you would pray and you would hope that you would get that fucking pink slip so you could drive whatever cool car they had. God, I fucking loved this game. I worked so hard to blast through that blacklist. This was the game I played the most on the GameCube. I know a lot of people are like, well, you could have played it on your Xbox. I had an Xbox at the same time. I don't know. I got it for in a sale bin for the GameCube, and I loved the shit out of this game.
Games that was inspired by include things like Grand Theft Auto. The previous Jak and Daxter had this kind of interconnected map structure, a bit like Banjo-Kazooie or something. It was actually kind of innovative. No loading screens to interrupt your movement, but then Jak 2 pivoted to an open world style. And to be honest, it is remembered fondly and for good reason. It actually was a fantastic game, honestly. And no, it wasn't too edgy. This is one of those rare cases where developers correctly read the room and pivoted away from bright Scrimlo-Bimlo likes into a new direction. And
because the problem with Jak and Daxter 1, and I think he said it with Banjo-Kazooie, but the Naughty Dog had just finished their work on Crash Bandicoot, and in Crash Bandicoot they were working in adjacent with Activision at the time, and so this was going to be their self-produced game that was going to be theirs, and this was before they were bought by PlayStation, and they had made Jak and Daxter, right? But the problem with Jak and Daxter was it didn't feel much different than Banjo-Kazooie. It felt way too similar. It was just Banjo-Kazooie with new characters, and so with Jak 2, they went in an absolutely different direction, and I think it's way better because it doesn't feel like a ripoff of another game like Jak and Daxter did.
Pulled it off. The writing was witty and the characters were good. The plot was engaging, and to be honest, it still had plenty of light-hearted moments. It actually worked quite well, having characters like Dexter juxtaposed with the grim environments. Goofy characters in a goofy world are just kind of wasted, they don't really stand out. This new direction added more contrast, and it added some more depth even. Another big criticism that the game received was for the abundance of timed missions. You often had to redo missions several times due to—
I will say this is really fucking annoying in Jack 2. Like, you'll be doing something, instead of just being able to have fun, it's just always timed, and you especially when you're playing it in the modern day where some of the stuff can be a little janky, it gets kind of annoying. It was one of the reasons why I didn't finish the game, so I would agree with this.
The strict time limitation, and you had to redo them over and over, and it was challenging. Like, you'd have to escort somebody to a location within like 2 minutes. Many of them made use of these hover bikes that you could find everywhere that people were driving around, and you know, this game was known for its difficulty, which is funny because I beat it as a kid and I just thought, this is normal.
It's not wildly difficult, it's just more of a nuisance, I would say. I don't think it's like making the game really hard. I just found it like some of the controls can be a little wonky for the modern era, because I played this in the modern era. I played this on my PS5. So I can see my problem with this was always the jankiness of it gets in the way of the fun, especially when you're on the timed shit and you do something slightly off because it's a little wonky.
It was only after growing up that I found out it was meant to be a very difficult game, apparently. And that's not to gas myself up as some kind of pro, I just like to be challenged. And I didn't mind repeating the same mission when I failed. That just means I wasn't good enough. In my eyes, that was just about as hard as a game should be. But I learned much later that people hated the timed missions. I thought they were great. It adds an extra intensity to games. It sets a skill floor to be able to beat the games and really tested your abilities. It didn't feel cheap to me. The plot had a reason for them to exist. They were often communicated in advance, and the times were never that long. You had to make it somewhere within 2 minutes, which really isn't that long. Like, you can repeat that, it's fine. You can't just dilly-dally around, you need to be focused and engaged. And this is a generalized issue as well. Dead Rising was built around this mechanic where there is a clock constantly ticking down, and each side quest—
I don't like the Dead Rising games. I don't like the Dead Rising games that much at all. I don't like that it resets the game over and over again. I found when I don't like roguelikes, right? I don't like roguelikes. I don't like anything that has that I'm starting it the day over type shit. I find it so annoying. I don't know why. It's just been something that always irks me, so I avoid games like this.
Had time limits attached to it. It added pressure to the game and again pushed you to engage with it because you had to be efficient. You had to make choices all the time, which is engaging. Because with each choice you spend—
And I can understand why it's engaging for some people. I just don't like it. If that's it's not that I don't understand why it's a thing. I don't understand why people like it. Me personally, when I'm playing a game, I do not want to start the whole game over. And I understand that, like with roguelikes, and I haven't played much of Dead Rising. I played a little bit of Dead Rising 2, and just starting the game over from day one, I was like, oh, dude, I don't fucking like this. What? I couldn't find the medication, so I have to start the whole day over and do this shit over. It's why I didn't like Majora's Mask. It's why I will never like Majora's Mask, is I don't like the idea of starting the day over. I think it's fucking irritating. Oh, I didn't play the flute in the right amount of time. Well, I gotta start the whole game over. No, go fuck yourself, dude. I hate that. I hate that. And I get that you can take some of your upgrades and they'll move over or whatever. I don't care, dude. I don't care. It's so insufferable. I hate it. And I can understand why it appeals to some people, but it will never appeal to me. And like roguelites are, there's so many of them now. There's so many of them because people like this shit. And I understand that the reasoning behind it, I just will never get behind it.
Your limited amount of time that you have. I'm honestly shocked more games haven't played around with this feature because it created a really intense and rewarding gameplay loop. There are other games that have a system like this, just hidden behind abstraction, like XCOM, where time is always moving forward and the crises just keep getting worse with time, and you have to manage them and you have to choose which missions to—
Another series. I don't like real-time tactics games. I don't like strategy games. I just find it's the same thing. I don't like turn-based games. I think this is something that people need to be honest about. I see this a lot with reviewers where they will like glaze a game because everybody else is talking nicely about that game, or they will hate a game that everybody else is supposed to hate. And they don't ever really draw lines in the sand. Like, I don't like this style of game. It's not for me. It will never be for me. And it's like, well, you should like it because it's popular. No, I don't have to like it. I don't give a fuck how many copies of Baldur's Gate sold. I'm not going to play it because I already don't like turn-based combat. So why would I spend money on a game and force myself to play a game with a ton of turn-based combat because the general zeitgeist says it's a game I have to play? I don't think anybody should be put in that situation. And I hate that there's like reviews and stuff that make it seem like you have to play this. You have to like it. You don't have to. People have differing opinions. That's okay. It's okay to have differing opinions. It's okay for that some series are not for you. And I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's something we got to be honest about. It's one of the reasons why I'll either talk about how I play something on a lower difficulty or and how it's okay to play stuff on lower difficulty and shit, because I hate this idea that you have to play games on the hardest difficulty or you're not a real gamer. Dude, people have fucking lives. People have shit to do. People are sucking and fucking all the time, and then they're like, oh, dude, I'm so tired. I'm so sweaty. I'm covered in semen. I just want to play a little bit of the game. I don't want to stress out. There you go, dude. I'm not going to say that everybody needs to play a Souls game and love them, because, like, I can understand why you just don't see the time value in it. Like, I get it, dude.
You because you can't do all of them. Time is a resource, and it's basically just like any other resource management in a game. Pushes you to make decisions. Adding this other level of decision making makes the game more engaging, but critics hated it because they have to think too much. Apparently it's a massive faux pas. With Dead Rising, they actually responded to the noise and removed the time limitation altogether in one of the sequels, and it just ruined the game. Time limits. That's something you don't see as much anymore. Half-Life is another big one for critics. Many claimed Half-Life 2 was the greatest game of all time.
I have a video coming out eventually, or maybe it already came out, depending on when I decide to put this video in the fucking onslaught that is my release schedule. It either already has came out or hasn't came out yet. I made a review on Half-Life, and I am not very positive about the game. I think it has not aged well at all. It has like a lot of wonkiness. I actually cut the video down shorter where I don't go into the themes as much as I should. I don't highlight the great moments of the story as much as I should, because I think I'm going to do that with the remake. Black Mesa, hopefully I enjoy that better, but I really didn't fucking vibe with Half-Life. It just was such an insufferable, cheap game at times. It's almost malicious at times how annoying it is. It's like, oh, you get into the tube, the guy tosses a grenade in, there's really no way out, you're supposed to die right there, because, oh, it got you. There's a lot of cheap bullshit in the game, the guns aren't very great. The cool thing about it is everything transitions into the next area, a lot like what Jak and Daxter did, where everything transitions seamlessly. It feels like you're in this cohesive story, and that it does incredible. And I will give it like fucking snaps or claps or jerk offs for that. But the game aged like fucking sour milk.
With all the other examples, it's a good game, but it was gassed up to mythological status by...
Okay, it didn't age like sour milk. I'm sorry I said that. It aged fine. It just isn't that fun when I can play something like Sin, or I can play Soldier of Fortune, Quake 2. There's so many other options fighting for your time, and I just see Half-Life as a bit of a step down compared to a lot of these other games that are way more fun in terms of still holding up and their guns feeling better and everything else. I just see, like, if you're looking at the store and your wallet is like, ooh, you should pay. There's all these games that you can get. Which one should you get? Ooh, and you look at this and it's just like, I don't see the money equivalents. Now, I think I got this one. I think Valve was giving it out for free. If you get it for free or something, when Valve's like just literally trying to give you Half-Life, like a Half-Life bundle for $8 when it drops down to that. I've seen that a couple times where they drop it down to fucking pennies on the taint. Get it then, play through it. It's worth a playthrough, but I still think that it's not the greatest.
Millennial reviewers. Half-Life has some of the most pretentious fans of all time. They hype it up as though it was some sophisticated masterpiece. Shooters, but for intelligent people. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Half-Life. Without a solid grasp on theoretical physics, the game will just go over your head. Oh, and it never breaks first-person perspective. But you know what it does? It makes a great argument for doing so by forcing you into these unskippable, basically cutscenes, where you just jump around the room and not do anything. Maybe the first time you're listening to the story, but what if you want to replay the game? Suddenly you're forced to go through like an hour's worth of cutscenes before you can even play it. What about these monster closets with enemies that waddle out of it one by one in a row? It's just so damn intellectual, like it's so sophisticated.
I don't know, Half-Life 2 looks fucking fire. I haven't played Half-Life 2 yet, and I think I played a little, okay, so I played a little bit of Half-Life 2 on the Xbox, and I really, really liked Half-Life 2. So I'm hoping Half-Life 2 is as good as I remember it being. But I remember it being way more fluid than Half-Life 1. I had a lot of problems with Half-Life 1.
Sophisticated. I don't think I'm smart enough to get this. I'm just a console pleb. Apparently the enemy AI actually was quite intelligent and well designed, but you couldn't tell with how the levels were designed. Unsatisfying levels, pretty basic puzzles, poor vehicle physics. Like with Ocarina of Time.
Dude, the puzzles in Half-Life 1 are so fucking annoying. It's like, go down a bunch of hallways, hit switch. Go back to main area, go around main area, go to other hallway, run down hallway, hit a switch. Go back to main hallway, run down third hallway, hit third switch. Then kill giant monster because you have to lead them into trap every single fucking time. Half-Life 1 doesn't have any good boss fights. It doesn't have any fun puzzles. Everything is just tedious. It is constantly tedious.
Does a lot of things which are individually done better by other games. There were good shooters before, at the same time and after the release of Half-Life. Singling Half-Life out specifically as the model, as the only way shooters should be, is very much indicative of a generation of gamers. Accompanying that view is often the idea that Halo ruined shooters, and I've already talked about this. It dumbed them down by making them work for consoles. Not to pit them against each other, I've already done that, but it really isn't that deep. Both Halo 2 and Half-Life 2 were technologically complex for their time. I mean, they both used the Havoc engine for physics. Both of them had sophisticated enemy design with a number of different enemy types with varied behavior depending on so many different environmental factors. Both of them had varied encounters, level design, and visuals. They both had large and varied weapon arsenals. They were both sophisticated in terms of what mattered, the gameplay. It's only the surface level distinctions that people use to say that Halo was unsophisticated. Regenerating health, 2-weapon limit. It was made for console base.
Here's the thing though, I see when I was playing Half-Life 1, I saw a lot of overlap with Halo Combat Evolved and Half-Life 1. And Halo Combat Evolved is a more fun game to play, but Half-Life did come out earlier, so like I could see that there possibly was an influence. I mean, Halo 1 came out in 2001, I think. Halo Combat Evolved, let's see here, 2001, and Half-Life came out in, let's see when Half-Life came out, 1998. So it'd be fair to say that during the development of Halo 2 that they might have played Half-Life 1, but they also might not have during that 2-year period while they were working on the game. So I mean, I don't know how long they were working on the game. I feel like there was probably a lot of influence from Half-Life, but I feel like Halo streamlined what Half-Life did into it was a slower combat like Half-Life, with all the PC guys like to shit on the slower combat of Halo 2, but it's very similar to the combat in Half-Life. I think Halo just made it more fun. Halo was a faster version of Half-Life, and I actually like the world building a little bit more in Halo. I think the diverse biomes is better in Halo. Half-Life had like the shittiest end area ever. I mean, there is a lot of things where I can look at Halo and say that it is a much more fun game to play than Half-Life 1. And I haven't played Half-Life 2 though, so I don't know. But Halo 2 is fucking peak. It's one of the best games ever made, and I don't give a shit what anybody says.
I think it definitely was a platform thing. Now that Halo is on PC, nobody seems to care anymore. That superiority complex also extended to Valve as a company. They released a lot of good games, but there was a pervasive idea that they could do no wrong at all. And honestly, this idea persists. Except they popularized loot boxes in PC gaming. They facilitated a gambling economy surrounding their games. Artifact. They're generally not as scummy as other companies, but they've made
Fuck this whole section of Half-Life, by the way. Everything kills you just randomly and sporadically. The first time you go through it, you are going to die because you're going to miss a tripwire or something. It is meant to kill you. Like, there's so much bullshit in the area. Like, you're getting shot by machine guns, you're trying to get around, you're using boxes, you finally get around the area. If you forget to hit this fucking fire exit, then you're rushing yourself. The best thing to do is shoot the fire exit and then run through the door as it closes, and then jump over the trip mines, or toss a grenade in this hallway and destroy the trip mines. But the first time you go around, you don't know the trip mines are there, you blow up. There's a lot of shit where Half-Life, it feels like it's just trying to kill you, so you have to redo it again. So you're constantly learning the thing, and I get that that's intelligent or whatever, but at the same time, it gets really tedious because Half-Life does it all the fucking time.
a ton of anti-consumer decisions over the years. I think one of the biggest effects of Half-Life criticisms is on the topic of first-person platforming. It was held as a maxim that first-person platforming doesn't work. There's one example that it doesn't.
And this is fucking worst first-person platforming of all time. It is so bad.
And many showing that it certainly can. It's not that first-person platforming doesn't work, it's that Half-Life's platforming was bad. Mirror's Edge showed that a first-person platforming game can work, but barely anyone makes these. Until indies came along decades later and showed that you're still allowed to.
Dude, fucking Ghostwire has good platforming, but I hate that you die with one shot. That game gets kind of tedious. But Neon White, even though that game's story is super fucking cringe with its anime bullshit, Neon White's platforming is so fucking good, dude. So fucking good.
To make them, but for a while, devs were afraid to include platforming in their shooter games in any significant capacity. And you see some examples, like there's a secret mission that was...
Oh, dude, Shadow Warrior 3's platforming is so fucking good. Doom Eternal's can be a little wonky at times. I mean, I didn't love Doom Eternal's platforming. I think it had a little bit of issues, but I think Shadow Warrior 3 took everything that Doom Eternal did and did it better.
Destiny 2 called 0 Hour. Now, most Destiny content is slop, like I said, but a fraction of it is actually really cool and well designed, and this is one of the cool examples. It was cool because it had both first-person platforming.
I do think that this video is kind of, the millennial reviewer thing is kind of not the greatest. I get where it's like the basis, it's okay for the basis, but I've critiqued videos in the past for having bad titles and not really matching what they were trying to talk about. So to keep a $1.50, this isn't the greatest. I thought this was going to be a critique on why, like trash reviewers or something, and it's not really that. It's just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy in gaming in general, I would say, and kind of shitting on games that are loved. It's more I would have said the problem with overhyped games is the better talking point here. I think that that is the main objective of this.
And a strict time limit, and that made it so fun and intense. But you can barely make things like this because reviewers don't like actual challenge. Also, they removed this mission from the game anyway. Now it's just sitting there in the vault with all of P. Diddy's unreleased music. Another common criticism you'd hear in the millennial generation was that games were too linear and scripted. I miss when games were just moving around an abstract environment picking up keys. Why do they have stories and events happening? There were some freeform games like Thief and Deus Ex where you could basically approach each scenario in the game any way you wanted. And you know, like some of the others, this criticism isn't entirely without merit. Like, there were some military shooters that would completely railroad you around like 2010, giving you absolutely no options. But it became a cliche. And here's the thing, many of the most beloved games are also extremely scripted and linear. Half-Life? Max Payne? I think it was about player expectations. If you see a place that looks like you should be able to go there, but you can't, that feels bad for the player. It's also about games not letting the player fail, not letting them fuck up and have to redo sections. The critique wasn't really focused enough, and now every dev wants to do some open world slop, or semi-open world slop. Both of these ideas can be very good and work in a certain context, but you really have to build it as an open world game from the ground up. And for a lot of these games that tried it, it was really more of a flop, because they were trying to mesh together conflicting styles. Like Shadow Warrior 2. It added replayable open world...
Yes! Yes, Shadow Warrior 2 was a very good example of just trying everything that was popular at the time. It had the Borderlands gun mechanic, but it didn't really have that good a variety of guns. It had open hub areas that just felt unnecessary. It had the overly spongy enemies where you had a bunch of fucking numbers shooting at you. Shadow Warrior 2 had like fun that was there to be had, right? But the game got in the way of its own fun, trying to chase trends.
Light missions with a hub world and a Borderlands light weapon system, and it just ruined the experience. It was way better off as a linear level-based shooter, and I'm glad modern shooters like Doom Eternal really lean into the linear formula, because that's often the best for well-crafted multiplayer experiences. Another common thread: cover shooters bad. Heard in the context of first-person shooters, but also more so with third-person shooters.
I don't love cover shooters. I don't. I played the fucking Gears of War games. I played 1 and 2. 2 is an amazing story. 2 has so much good going for it, but at the end of the day, I still don't, even with me spam hopping around like I'm turning it into a movement shooter, it's still not that fun, you know? I just never have loved it, even with like the what are the games with the fucking Indiana Jones guy? Fuck, dude, I can't remember what those games are called. You have to let me know in the comments. But even those games with Nathan, whatever his name is, I didn't love those either. I just don't like I don't like cover-based mechanic shooting. I just never feel like it's fun. It feels tedious. It feels annoying. I don't know. I've never loved this gameplay style.
Especially with Gears of War. Like the other critiques, there was a phenomenon that gave rise to this critique. It was a bit saturated, but it was never really that bad. Like, you were never really forced to play them. There was never a point where third-person chest-high wall cover shooters were completely unavoidable. And there were many good games in the genre. Overall, I just feel this trend was mostly avoidable, with a few standout shockers like Kane and Lynch. But here's the thing, every shooter has cover. Just taking aim at the idea of cover altogether.
I think the problem with the cover shooter phenomenon is there was a bit of oversaturation. Like one game I'm thinking of in particular was fuck, I can't think of any games right now, dude. It had like Duke Danger or some stupid ass name like that. Will Arnett was the voice in it. It was one of my first reviews after that I did The Witcher 2 that got really good views. Eat Lead. That was called Eat Lead. And I remember thinking it was a parody game, but it was doing hard cover-based mechanics a lot like Gears of War. Like, it is like shot-for-shot Gears of War, but just not as fun. And the problem is it forces you into cover. You can't ever run and gun. You never feel like you have that opportunity to really cut loose and have fun. You're just constantly slamming into cover and like moving cover to cover to cover. And it just ruins the flow and it gets tedious to me. That's my personal perspective. I can understand why some people really like them. Again, I understand why a lot of people like a lot of games. But preferentially, like, in my preference is, if I had the choice between a fucking game like Max Payne or a game like Gears of War, I'm going to take the Max Payne style game every single fucking time. It's just, to me, more fun. It's setting off that monkey brain. Ooh, fucking movement. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like a badass. I feel like John Wick. I feel like I'm in a John Woo movie. When the other one's like, oh, I'm tactical? I don't fucking care, dude. It's slow.
Broadly writing it off, saying a game forces you to take cover is a bad thing. Every shooter is built around cover to some degree. It is a basic element of shooters, and emphasizing it more in some games has produced some of the most unique and interesting gameplay interactions we've seen, like tactical shooters as an entire genre. They're basically cover-based shooters. And with the chest-high walls dotted around the map in third-person shooters, there are a lot of similar game contrivances that you'll notice when you pay attention. To be fair, this specific one is more noticeable. Isn't it great that there aren't as many games like this now? They haven't disappeared.
I don't think that it's great that there isn't. I think that there's a lot of fans of this style, and I think there's a lot of people who didn't like this, and they threw a little hissy fit because they didn't like a game, and so if they think a game's bad, everybody should think a game's bad. And I don't like that mentality. I don't think it's productive. I can look at a game and be like, I don't like this style of game, so I'm just not going to buy it. It's not for me. That's fine. But to go out and say they're all bad, they're all trash, it's just such a regressive way to do it. I mean, it's okay to not like a game, but to say that that game genre shouldn't exist is kind of fucking cringe. And I've probably done this in the past too, where I've shit on stuff. You really hate when a game will be a certain genre and then they'll just fucking go to an absolutely different genre that I don't like. So I've been a fan of this series all the way, like the Blood Rain series. I love Blood Rain 1, I love Blood Rain 2, but the weird spin-off game that they made that was just a fucking platformer, I felt like it was a slap in the face to the games we had previously. And it's also a genre that I don't really like side-scrollers. I do okay. I mean, so far I've said a lot of games that I don't like. It seems like I only like FPS games and like RPGs and adventure games. But at the same time, I look at the Blood Rain series and it's like, why would I play this game that looks like it's a knockoff of Hollow Knight when you had a very original style game that felt different? Like, you play Blood Rain, it feels like a combination of the hack and slash games at the time and also a bit of Max Payne. It feels like a very original style game, even though it's pulling a lot of influences from a lot of different areas. And then you play the whatever that other one is and it's just like another Hollow Knight. Like, sure, it might do a couple things different or whatever, but it's like, why the fuck would I do that when it was famous for a single reason, and you're just taking the IP and slapping it on something else? It's the same problem I have with Prey 2017. It's like, you're nothing like the other Prey. I mean, and people are like, well, they didn't. It's like, still, it's in the same series, so I can understand why fans of Prey 2006 did not like Prey 2017, because they're one of their favorite games literally had their name slapped on something else, and they feel cheated.
I mean, every third-person game still has the obligatory, leaning against the wall mechanic, but it's basically useless in many of them now. They just include it because they have to. I think the gameplay in these cover-based third-person shooters is orders of magnitude better than the generic Grand Theft Auto style. It has, actual combat with actual enemies that have actual strategy, rather than just go here, point at guys, click to shoot them, and that's it. Another thing that these third-person, chest-high wall military-style shooters had was so-called tacked-on multiplayer. It wasn't just those that had this feature either. It would often happen in first-person shooters as well, and even some platformer games. This is basically where developers would create a largely single-player game, but then also include a multiplayer side mode as well, which was clearly intended to be secondary in the experience. There are some bad examples like BioShock 2, it was just kind of unnecessary there. But also, basically every good multiplayer game started out as tacked-on multiplayer. Call of Duty, Halo...
And this is a problem that I see a lot. This is something I would love to add on here, because it's like, I hated Halo 5 a lot for its campaign feeling like it was secondary. And there's this idea, and then people are like, well, we gotta chase the bag, we gotta hit the live service thing. And the problem is they never understood why these games became popular in the first place. It's like they would make a game like Call of Duty that had a really good campaign and then had a really good multiplayer at the same time. They'd make a game like Halo. Halo was a really fun campaign, but it also had a really fun multiplayer you could play with your friends. So it was like a side mode. It was a side attachment, and you would play it, and you're like, holy shit, this is fun. I'm gonna get my friends to play this. And then it spreads, and then it starts getting competitive, and then it hits the competitive scene. It was a natural progression. Now they're wanting to remove the natural progression and just say, oh, dude, we gotta ask the pros what they want in the game because we want the pro input. It's like, no, fuck them, dude. They're not the people that are selling your game for you. You can make the game the best way you want, make it with all the fun things you want, and then unapologetically put it out. And if enough people get the games, the pro community will play that game. We're doing everything ass backwards right now, dude. It's so fucking cringe.
Rainbow Six, at least the classics. Maybe newer games just aren't like that anymore. Seems there's a lot more multiplayer only games now that people are playing. But in a lot of those classics, they were basically modes that were added at the last minute, using significantly fewer development resources than the campaign. Now, I disagree with this tacked on multiplayer critiques because these multiplayer modes felt the opposite of cynical. They very often felt to me like something the developers pushed to add into their game out of love, because they wanted to provide the best value to the customer. Not to mention, not every...
This is also why I see a lot of people who always hate on Call of Duty, right? And then they're mad when another game comes out and doesn't do be able to sell like Call of Duty sells. There's a reason why Call of Duty has outlasted all of these Call of Duty type killers, whether it's Ubisoft with their fucking Defiant game or I know there's been like a bunch of other Call of Duty titles. I'm not gonna figure out the list in my top of my head right now. Medal of Honor died through this. There's a ton of games. The reason Call of Duty has stayed so long and why these games that come out of nowhere and are just the multiplayer aspect of Call of Duty don't wipe Call of Duty off the map isn't just brand recognition. It's also a value, a proposition that you're getting from Activision. When you buy Call of Duty, you get a campaign, you usually get multiplayer. There's also usually another weird mode that they decide. There's zombies. There's a ton of stuff you get with the purchase of Call of Duty. Now, I'm not saying every Call of Duty is good, but I understand the value proposition you're getting. Now, is all of it good always? No. Sometimes, like Modern Warfare 3 reboot was trash. I didn't buy it because I heard the campaign was like an hour, and it just kind of fucking slapped shit together to try to get the storyline they had fucked up in the second game steamed out and done. They were like, we're done now. And that kind of sucks. And then some of the games that they released without a campaign, there's a reason if the game would have been super successful, they probably would have stopped releasing Call of Duties without campaign. But what they found out is they sold substantially less than when they had a campaign involved. So they went back to the drawing board and started making campaigns. Even if it was a shitty campaign, they were making sure it had a campaign because of the value proposition.
Part of a game dev team is firing on all cylinders at all times. The design needs to be done before the art. They can't be done synchronously. So if the devs have extra unutilized time, why not try to add something for the fans? Why not create multiplayer maps that reuse campaign assets? Ubisoft used to add cool multiplayer modes like Spies vs Mercs or the Assassin's Creed multiplayer. They were an interesting and fun experience, and who cares if it dies out eventually? Around launch, you get to have a new and interesting experience, and the single player game is still there to play if you buy the game a lot later. And if you really want to try out the multiplayer, you can get some of your friends together to try and run a lobby. And I'm sad this is kind of gone for the most part. I think about how fun Doom 2016 multiplayer was.
Dude, Doom 2016's multiplayer was fire, dude. I fucking love Doom 2016's multiplayer. I remember when I got the game, I was just enveloped with the multiplayer, having a blast. And then the lobbies dried up really fast, and I was like, dude, this kind of sucks. And I was hoping with Doom Eternal they would do another really cool multiplayer, but I hated Doom Eternal's multiplayer. I just wanted that arcadey style combat again, dude. There was something so fun and so fresh about it. And it just felt like something they added in just for the fun factor. And then Doom Eternals felt like it was added in to make money. There was a substantial difference in the two, where it was like, oh, well, we have this multiplayer, you can get cosmetics and check out all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, I don't care about that, though, dude. I just liked jumping around on boost packs and killing people.
But they never tried to expand on it. They just cut it in Eternal and had battle mode instead. I also can't go without mentioning the obsession reviewers have basically always had with Sonic. Every single video reviewer from a certain era had to mention Sonic 06 in some capacity. It was so overplayed. There was always some gag about how it was pure evil or something, basically just exaggerating it to the level of worst game ever. There are obviously worse games. Some people went as far as to say Sonic was never good. I'm not even a Sonic fan, but obviously there have been good Sonic games. There have also been good 3D Sonic games. Sure, they made plenty of stinkers, but Sonic hate feels very much like something of a certain generation. Now I want to do a rapid fire round. Point out some other cliches. One is the dude bro shooter. I went back and looked, and depending on how broad you set your net, it was never really that much of a thing. There weren't that many games around, and many of the archetypical dude bro games were, well...
Awaken to a world
like,
of wonder.
The dude bro shooter is something that I honestly think that there was this idea of just bros sitting around playing games, and this idea, like, that's the problem with like games like Wolfenstein 2, where they're like, well, we need to talk to the audience, and it's like, bro, your audience isn't going to be the fucking people. Like, I remember, again, I've said this story a million times on stream, when I bought Wolfenstein the New Order, I walked in and I asked what this game was because I didn't know what Wolfenstein was. He was like, it's just a stupid hoorah America game. And I was like, sold, buying it. Fucking yes, dude. And it was just kind of looked down on. It was anything that was like dude bro shooter was looked down on, and it was fun, dude. And your normal fucking dude is gonna buy a game that you get to fuck shit up in. And then you get into the second one where you could tell the developers were annoyed with their audience base being just a bunch of bros that like fucking shooting Nazis, and they're like, we need to tell them that they're pieces of shit. So how do we put social messaging into this? And then they flooded it with it because they didn't like that audience base. And it's like, dude, fuck you. That is a big portion of why these games were so successful, because you're fucking everyday bro who comes home after school or comes home after work is going to turn on a game like this. They're not going to turn on a game that's going to fucking lecture them. They just want to have fun and kill shit.
Good. It feels like the precursor to Gamergate and the toxic masculinity discourse more than anything. To some, the Dude Bro games were basically just any game that featured a bald, white male character as the protagonist.
It wasn't just a white male character. It was just a bold fucking character. It was unapologetic. The character was unapologetically badass. It didn't have to be a white character. Like, that is, I hate that's that talking point, because it's just not true, dude. I mean, how many games that you can think of that just had like cool ass black characters in them? I mean, it's just so it was just a badass character in general. Somebody you could look at and be like, that dude's fucking cool. That guy is fucking awesome. I love this. Like, I think it's Sin, dude. Sin is one of the coolest. The main character in Sin is one of the coolest fucking guys ever, bro. And it's just about having this badass that you gotta play as, and you get a body at, or doing body. It's like why people watch shit like John Wick. It's like, oh, dude, I could be John Wick. It's not about like I hate when the race is thrown in, because I think it misses the point of why there's this thing now. It's all the other shit that weighs down the game with bullshit, where you're just sitting here being lectured and lectured and lectured and lectured instead of just actually getting to do the fun stuff. That's the problem, not the white male fantasy or whatever the fuck we want to talk about. I think the main thing that should be a focus is where we started interjecting political writing where it has no fucking point, and it getting really fucking preachy.
And that was enough to get it labeled Dude Bro, or just having anything vaguely gritty. Another cliche, Crysis is a tech demo. Crysis 1 was actually quite fun. It had the same freeform gameplay style of Far Cry. It had a variety of vehicles, environments, etc. It felt like it was a fun sandbox game, and it just happened to be pretty on top of that. So I just think calling it a tech demo was just a silly cliche.
I didn't know people called Crysis a tech demo, because Crysis 1 is, I think, the longest of the 3 games. I think Crysis 1 has the longest amount of playtime because it's the most open of the 3 games. The other 2 are more linear. I don't like Crysis 1 because I think it's kind of weak on the story front compared to the other 2. I also just, I don't know, I've never really liked the Far Cry formula of just go here, do thing, go here, do thing, go here, do thing. I find it gets pretty repetitive. The only game that I was really obsessed with in that formula was Blood Dragon, because I love cyberpunk and just neon 80s cyberpunk aesthetics. It's something that's going to sell me most of the time. So that game kind of fucking had me hooked, but Crysis 1 really wasn't my jam. Crysis 2 and 3, though, are some of my favorite games I've ever played.
Okay, what about cell shading hides bad graphics? And this is such a millennial coded position.
That's so fucking stupid. Anybody that says this is fucking actually like a brain rot idiot. Anybody who says cell shading hides bad graphics, you're an idiot. I mean, maybe it does, but it will also make your game last through time better. Like, you look at games that had shell shading back in the 2000s, those games unabashedly hold up better than almost anything else of that time period. Look at Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 2 or original Xbox or GameCube. I don't know if it came out on GameCube. Compared to Ultimate Spider-Man for those same consoles. Ultimate Spider-Man will look 10 times better because they went with an art design, like an art style, over graphics. You will see shell shading stuff looks better in today's thing because they went for an arts choice instead of just trying to push what graphics could do at that time period. Art design is always better than graphic fidelity any day. I will take an art design choice every single fucking time.
Because nowadays the consensus is, rightly, that art direction trumps graphical fidelity and realism.
Boom! Pre-watch. I didn't pre-watch this, but that would be in comics. Call that a pre-watch moment. I fucking called it, dude. I called it, dude. I'm so sick of my graphics. I don't give a fuck how much peach fuzz rendering you have. If the game is boring and generic, dude, give me a cool ass art design that I can remember forever.
Day of the week, and cell shading works if that's what the game is going for. I think this cliche comes again from centering the importance of Nintendo and Zelda in the gaming landscape, because so much of it seems to...
You know why Wind Waker is one of the best holding up games in that entire Zelda old catalog? They used an insane pretty art style. This game looks so good in the modern era. Same with like a lot of those older Nintendo games, because of the fact that they fucked with an art style. They didn't go hyper realistic. They could have gone more in a realistic direction for this Zelda. A lot of people were really mad at Wind Waker for going with the making Zelda a kid route, and it's just like, dude, this is the best and prettiest game, and I think that. Comparing this to even the 64, it's not even close. It's not even close how much prettier this is and how this still holds up.
Extend from the backlash which Wind Waker received. And I don't even remember hearing about this one back in the day, but I've been told by a few people now that apparently some people thought Fear had weak level design. When I was told about this, I was a bit baffled. I mean, it had great AI, and the objective of level design in this type of game should ultimately be to make the best use of that great AI, to give it interesting interactions. Because Lord knows there's some games that do not make good use of their AI. And Fear level design does make good use of its AI. It gives them interesting interactions, and cool things happen. I will agree that it could be more varied, but obviously they had budget constraints. The level and encounter design and, yes, scripting was excellent for the most part. So what are some of the examples that you remember best? Reviewer cliches, how reviewers affected games? Let me know in the comments. Support me on Patreon, like, subscribe, thanks for watching, goodbye.
That was a really good video. I do understand the cliches. I thought it would go in a different direction and kind of just critique reviewers as a whole and not just take their talking points and critique them. I mean, I wouldn't call this clickbait like some of the other ones I've had where I say that the intro is just completely wrong. I mean, I kind of lead it into that while I was about halfway through, and I think that I am a little wrong on that because he did keep tying it back. But I think it's more talking about the critical critiques, and the way it really kind of ramps toward more of the critiques the reviewers had on games later in the video than it did in that midsection. But I think it was a really good video talking kind of about where the industry has gone to now. I think we've made a lot of missteps by listening to the wrong people. The industry has. I mean, you can tell that just from the amount of lack of sales that these studios saw pre-COVID, and then after COVID, you were seeing it even more because of the kind of angled writing towards certain causes and certain political talking points. It's just this idea that they're, oh, well, on Twitter right now, this is trending, and this is a window of a small demographic of our buyer base, and our larger demographic, if we just multiply this by the same size, has to be our buyer base, when most people aren't chronically online like the people on Twitter. So it's a bad example to look at. And when you're looking at people who review shit online, most of the time, this is a small percentage of the people who are actually buying the games. Most people aren't constantly watching the YouTube videos and listening to every single critique that every reviewer has. So by going to these reviewers and saying, oh, well, what's the correct way to make the game, you might get some that will oh yeah, this is the best direction, this is what we should do, because they're like popular in the genre. But just because they have that portion of base that watches them doesn't mean the majority of people who are going to buy this game and throw their money at the fucking wall for this product are going to be the ones happy. Because when they talk to the pro players or they talk to these pro streamers and stuff, a lot of times the regular average Joe is mad because the game feels angled against them. It doesn't feel like it's fair to them. I remember when I was playing Halo Infinite when it first came out, and the Mangler was so fucking sick. You'd pop, then hit, pop, then hit. And I was like, this is cool. They need to speed up some of the other guns so they feel as good to use as the Mangler. But what did they do? They made the Mangler a harder gun to kill with because the pro players were complaining about it. Instead of just balancing all of the other weapons and making them a little bit faster to kill, so the game had just a slightly faster time to kill for everything, they were like, no, we want everything to be a bit slower, so we're going to do the opposite because the pro players are whining. And when you kowtow to a small portion of the demographic, you're going to lose a bigger portion of the people who are willing to buy your game or play your game, which then ruins the longevity of the game. If you just keep making the general audience happy, and keep listening to the general audience consensus, like, maybe have you could literally have a pop-up in the game, like if you were thinking about making this, have the players vote on it, put like a player vote section in the game. There's a million different routes you could go than just listening to pro players and what their thoughts are listening to pretentious reviewers, and then you end up with shit like Wolfenstein 2 where you end up losing money on it because you're alienating a giant portion of your buyer base because of a innate bias that you've decided to have. That's just my 2 cents on the whole thing, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one.